First alert forecast, we're tracking temperatures back towards the upper 80s today. Going to be looking at sunnier skies across much of the area. Could see some upper level wildfire smoke, not going to be an issue near the surface. As we look off into Thursday, temperatures back towards the upper 80s. Once again, mostly sunny skies. Big changeover is going to be Friday morning. Scattered showers and storms that'll be staying with us off and on as we head off into Saturday as well. And things are looking to dry up this week and temperatures back towards the lower 80s. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
Let's get moving, St. Louis. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Right at the end of the show on Tuesday, we got a call from Jim, and I really appreciated the call from Jim. Now, here's the thing. Jim and I didn't agree on Amendments 4 and Amendments 5, but we had a really interesting kind of back and forth on it, and that's the kind of stuff I just love doing on a show like this. So, Jim, thanks for calling yesterday, but one of the areas that we just disagreed on was Amendment 4, and it sounds like Jim's on, I guess, generally speaking, our side. I didn't ask him his party affiliation or anything like that, but he was reacting to some of the pushback against Amendment 4 as far as one area could stop a constitutional amendment from going into effect, and my answer was, well, yeah, that's kind of the point of that. So we had an interesting discussion. We're going to get into more depth on Amendment 4 because to me, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, I think for conservatives, Amendment 4 is the most important thing on the ballot next week on Tuesday. So we're going to dig into that a little more in depth at 6:35. Hey, good morning. And let's look at some national stuff here. You know, we are kind of done with the Graham Plattner thing because obviously he's left the race for U.S. Senate in Maine with his tail between his Nazi legs. And we wonder sometimes, how could Democrats, how could independents, how could so many people not be up in arms about this guy and getting that close to a U.S. Senate seat? Well, the reality is that some people may not have known about it, and I know that doesn't sound like it makes any sense, but it's possible. On Tuesday's program, we had a conversation with Luis Cornelio from our friends at the Media Research Center saying, yeah, where a lot of people get their news in the mainstream, they're not allowing these articles to get to them. Here's that conversation.
Why weren't more Americans appalled by Graham Plattner's, I don't know, what's the word, Nazi stuff?
Yeah, I don't know.
His abuse of women?
I don't know.
You know, or by Abdul El Sayed's ties to not just extremists, but the support he's receiving from people involved with actual terrorist organizations.
Yeah.
Okay, now this may be really hard for a lot of people to understand, and I'm not trying to be funny or condescending here because obviously conservative media covers this stuff. Mm-hmm. And if you're listening to conservative media or watching conservative media like a show like this, or you're watching Newsmax or Fox News or whatever the case is, you know about this stuff and you're like, how could those on the left possibly not be this outraged? In many cases, they may legitimately not have heard about it. And you're like, how is that possible? Because we can sometimes end up in a bubble and assuming that everybody knows what we know because it's important to us. We're now joined by Luis Cornelio from the Media Research Center's Free Speech America. Okay, and Luis, you guys had an interesting article on this that you wrote to that effect, in that some of the biggest gatekeepers of news took some of the most salacious scandals you could get, while you would think generate lots of clicks, make them lots of money, they still chose to filter them out. So is it actually possible that there were a lot of people, whether it's Maine or Michigan or anywhere else, who have no idea what us crazy people on the right are talking about and just think we're talking nonsense because they didn't actually see the news?
You're absolutely right. Good morning, and thank you so much for having me. Look, we've been talking about bias by omission at the Media Research Center since the 1980s. This is perhaps the most egregious example of bias by omission on steroids that we've ever come across since the 80s. Look, we're talking about two of the most radical left-wing candidates who came very close to becoming, again, U.S. senators. You know, this is one of the most coveted, one of the most powerful federal offices out there. And these two candidates have faced scandals after scandals. And, you know, there are millions of Americans who get their news from Apple News and Google News. And, you know, our study found that if you are one of those Americans relying on news from these two aggregators, you're likely never heard of the scandals plaguing these two candidates. I mean, Graham Plattner, like you mentioned, had an acid tattoo. He then faced accusations of being toxic and abusive towards women. Then women came forward saying that they were sexually abused by him, allegedly. And then another woman came out saying that he removed protection whenever they were being intimate. And the fact that this man was running for Senate, and again, came very close to facing Susan Collins in the general election, just goes to tell you. The same thing happened with Abdul Al-Sayed in Michigan. This is a left-wing, socialist-aligned candidate running for Senate in Michigan. And, this man has campaigned with Hassan Piker, an accused anti-Semite who has said that America deserved 9/11. This is a man who was arrested for protesting against law enforcement. So really, I mean, like you mentioned, these headlines will have generated a bunch of clicks, but aggregators had no interest in promoting those news.
Good morning, Luis. This is Susie Moore. I guess I have my question is this: how do we address this? And I say that as the deputy managing editor at RedState, and obviously we cover this stuff. We cover it extensively. But one of the things that we run into is that our articles don't get featured or bumped up on Google or Apple News. So we get, we can shout into the wind all we want, but it's very hard to kind of, break through that barrier.
Yeah, so, that's a great point. And, this is why, we're grateful to, the Federal Trade Commission and, the Federal Communications Commission. These two agencies are currently, putting this left-wing, cable news shows and these aggregators to task. Andrew Ferguson sent a letter to Apple News, earlier this year when we began sounding the alarm that conservative outlets, right-leaning outlets, were being censored systematically by Apple News. And so the Google News is doing everything that it can to defend itself. It is claiming that our study and our methodology is false. And Google, I need you to show me the right-leaning outlets, right-leaning sources that you promoted about Graham Plattner and Abdul Al-Sayed during that review period. They haven't done so. And like you mentioned, by the way, RedState is among the 260 stories that we counted from right-leaning outlets covering the scandals about these two candidates. And neither of those 260 stories actually, appeared on Apple News and Google News. So look, they might face a stronger federal investigation, but right now they are on notice. So I wouldn't be surprised if this investigation, speeds up and they get subpoenaed and whatnot.
Okay, we're visiting with Luis Cornelio from the Media Research Center's Free Speech America Project. And by the way, I just put that link to your article up on the, at least on the Rumble chat box that we've got. Jerome, we've got it up on the others. Okay, so we've got that up on our social media as well. Okay, so it's one thing to point out the bias. And like you said, the bias of omission here, which I think is a really good term for that, Luis. But what is the role of the government? I mean, we've got bias here. I mean, we're a conservative station. We try to include, critiques of our own side as well. But what should be compelled? I mean, we don't want government telling media outlets what to cover and what not to cover. So where do we draw the line between, hey, this is the free market of ideas. Organizations like yours are doing a great job of calling out the bias and shining a light on it. And then we can have that versus what should there be an investigation of and what should government's role be, if anything?
So let me explain this. So, there is this question of whether these two aggregators, whenever people sign up to them, if they're being promised fair and balanced news, and this is how that might run into federal law violations. The Federal Trade Commission Act prohibits corporations and companies from deceiving Americans whenever they sign up for a product. We know for a fact that Apple News is claiming that they provide a wide range of outlets on their feeds. Google News have sort of flirted with the same statement. So But the evidence shows that that's not the case. So the question here is whether Americans are being deceived, in potential violations of the Federal Trade Commission Act, whenever they sign up for Google News and Apple News, that, they're being promised, again, fair and balanced news, but in reality, they're being fed left-wing propaganda across their feeds. That's the question that we know that the Federal Trade Commission is looking into here.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, you want there to be some accountability and some governance in terms of making sure that people are not being improperly prevented from seeing this stuff. But at the same time, you don't want government running the show, because then you run right into the same situation that we had, particularly under the Biden administration, where you have the government kind of like locking arms with a lot of these organizations that are, focused on censorship.
You're absolutely right. And look, at the Media Research Center, I work for, MRC Free Speech America. And, we were one of the leading organizations exposing and calling out, big tech censorship. We have a report that we discovered at least 57 Biden-era censorship initiatives. So we are, wholeheartedly against censorship and government intervention in the free market. But again, the question here is really whether Americans are being deceived and that whether these aggregators are actually violating federal law by claiming they're being fair and balanced, but in reality, it just appears that they're just like an arm of the DNC.
Okay, so the article is called Special Report, First Apple News and Google News Effectively Shielded Graham Plattner, now Abdul El Sayed. And just in the last couple of minutes we've got, Luis. It was written by Luis Cornelio, who's with us right now. The Abdul El Sayed situation here. So, this guy has got ties to, at least secondary ties to, people who are literally directly supporting terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
Literally supporting organizations like Hamas. And I haven't seen any evidence that he's directly supporting terrorists, but he's certainly not opposing them. But this comes down to these articles, like you mentioned, Hassan Piker and some of the others, the people who are supporting him, that gets covered all the time with Republican candidates, especially Republican candidates who happen to be conservative. I wish I could say all Republican candidates were conservative, but especially those who are conservative, and then something gets dug out. So where is our ability to insist in the news coverage that you do the same thing for both? Because at this point, it is that bias by omission, but we can't force a reporter to write a story on it. But in this case, it's not about forcing them to write a story. It's about showing the stories that are already written.
Yeah, and look, here's the kicker. We, for the sake of being transparent, we also discovered a bunch of left-leaning outlets that were covering these developments, and Apple News and Google News still decided to omit those headlines, despite the fact that the same outlets that were covering the Abdul al-Sayed scandals are the same outlets that the Apple News and Google News love to promote. We're talking about the New York Times, we're talking about the fake news CNN, we're talking about, MSN Now, we're talking about the Washington Post. To their credit, they have given a deeper look into these candidates, but again, these two news aggregators have no interest whatsoever in highlighting and platforming these major scandals.
All right, Luis Cornelio, where do we find that article? It's not on the MRC main page. Is it on Newsbusters, I think, right?
Yes, so they can find it on Newsbusters. There's a tab where it says free speech, or they can go to our own website, mrcfreespeechamerica.org. Again, mrcfreespeechamerica.org.
And once again, you can just go to Newsbusters. Just look up Newsbusters. It'll take you right there if you want to see Luis's article. All right, it's Wednesday. That means we are just 2 days away from Flashback Friday. Get those 80s bump music requests coming on in. Send them right to Jerome, or put them up on the social media, comments or chat box or whatever works for you. Send it our way, and we'll get ready for another great Flashback Friday right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
All
all the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
NewsTalkSTL.
Bill, you're an old politician.
Yup, sure am.
So you know the old timers warned that someone trying to sell you a pig in a poke was a con man.
Well, sure.
Well, no offense, Tom, but your politician's Amendment 5 is a pig in a poke, allowing politicians to raise our taxes without a vote of the people. And the politician's Amendment 4 takes away our power to do anything about it. Well, let's look at what's really inside Forward 5.
Oh, don't do that.
5 hits hardest seniors and those struggling financially with new taxes on services like doctor visits, in-home care, and rent. Sales taxes could more than triple. For up to 80% of Missourians, it's a tax hike. And Amendment 4 ends majority rule, allowing a minority of the most liberal statewide voters in one district to effectively end our power to stop corruption and out-of-control spending and taxing.
Slick plan, huh?
No, Tom. 4 and 5 are schemes that hurt citizens and transfer our power and our money to politicians and lobbyists. That's why I'm voting no on the politicians' Amendments 4 and 5, paid for by Missourians for fair governance.
Dude, this house is perfect. Crumbs everywhere, sticky counters. I've already texted the colonies.
Sweet, I'll bring my 500 cousins. This'll be the biggest ant rager of the summer.
Let's party! Wait, oh, what's that sound? Oh, no, it's those trucks with the green wheels. Party's over, man. Party's over.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. We'd love to help you out. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888 to learn more about our special $67 offer.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
JC's Wayback Machine.
Saturday is the 45th anniversary of the debut of MTV. We'll reminisce with VJ Kennedy. And this week in 1994, it was the first in a series of outdoor concerts at Busch Stadium. And you'll hear the only known recording of the first 2 songs that night with Billy Joel and Elton John. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9. On News Talk STL.
Lower your car payment today. Lower your car payment today. Yes, you heard us right. You can lower your car payment right now by making this free call and save up to $1,400 a year on your current car payments. Think about your current car payment right now. What's that costing you per year? Now think about what it would be like to put an extra $1,400 back in your pocket. That's the average savings our customers experience. We can help you drive the same car and pay less every month by lowering your car payments interest rate to as low as 4.67%. At Rate Genius, we can work with you to refinance any car payment. If you qualify, it costs you nothing to find out how you can lower your car payment. To learn more, call this number right now.
800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. That's 800-493-5670.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, this one's going to sting a little bit. A lot of people waking up to the news that another St. Louis brand is leaving St. Louis. I mean, like a St. Louis thing.
Oh, no.
Now, Jerome and I were talking about this a little bit earlier because obviously with you being a transplant to St. Louis here.
A carpetbagger, yeah.
Yeah, well, if you stay, you're not a carpetbagger. But what people know is Panera around here. If you say, hey, let's go to Panera, you know what somebody's going to do? Bread Co.
Ooh.
It's Bread Co. Even if the sign says Panera, Bread Co. St. Louis Bread Company. They announced yesterday. Now, they didn't really announce it. What happened is somebody leaked an internal memo to some media. And David Amilotti over at Channel 4 was one of the first to get it. The Post-Dispatch picked up on it as well. Now it's everywhere, and they've confirmed that it was announced internally yesterday that Panera is moving their corporate headquarters away from St. Louis.
Yet another company to flee.
Yeah, and when you look at some of the numbers, it just doesn't. On the surface, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, as far as like they're going to a much higher tax state. I mean, they're leaving a low tax state for a high tax state, And so we'll get into this throughout the morning, maybe around 6:20 or so. But this has got a lot of people. I mean, this is a St. Louis thing. It was literally an entrepreneurial one-location restaurant in 1987 that was started in Kirkwood.
Oh.
And then by 1993, they'd grown to 20 some odd locations, and then they were purchased by, a company for however many millions of dollars, and then that got purchased by somebody else, and now it's all over the world kind of thing. Panera's just massive. But you ask around town here, and everybody's like, that started here. That's us, and I don't think it's going to be as huge of a deal as like when Anheuser-Busch sold out to InBev over in Belgium, I guess it was. And they're like, that's not a St. Louis thing anymore. But AB is still trying to say, we're St. Louis based. I'm like, no, you're owned by freaking Europeans.
Yeah.
You're not a St. Louis thing anymore.
Well, see, and I always wondered that because up in Northern Illinois, we had Paneras, as we called them, in very hoity-toity kind of areas. I came down here, I think it's right up the road. It says, St. Louis Bread Company.
Right.
Same logo, same style. And I'm like, did they just rip off this big brand? What's going on here?
That's right. Yeah. And I remember when a few years ago, I don't remember how many years ago it was, 4 or 5 years ago, something like that, they started flipping some of the St. Louis Bread Co. to Panera brand. And there was like a mini outrage here in town. They're like, no, this is our thing. You can't take our thing. And now our thing's up and leaving. So I'll get your thoughts on that. Let me know what you think about that. Let's see. We got a little over a minute left here before we get to the information break. Cardinals just blow right now. Oh my goodness.
They were doing so well.
They had a real kind of hot streak going on right now. But man, they're only like another game and a half and they're going to be in last place.
Ooh.
And listen, the Pirates are horrific this year. They are terrible, but they're only a game and a half worse than the Cardinals right now.
So you might end up winning that bet.
Yeah, and I don't want to. Okay, so for those of you who are new to the show, at the beginning of the season, we've got one of our more left-leaning Democratic listeners, Scooter, who's always debating people on the comments on Facebook, and I'm actually glad that he's there. And I don't know if he's listening right now, but he's pretty regular in his comments, and he disagrees with me on a whole bunch of stuff. But we kind of had a bet. I said, I think the Cardinals might end up in last place this year. It's a rebuilding year. He goes, no, they won't. So we ended up wagering $100. If the Cardinals finish in last place, Scooter has to give $100 to the food bank. If the Cardinals finish anywhere other than last place, I give $100 to the food bank. So really everybody wins.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
Hey guys, don't miss Straight Lines with Elizabeth Kaiser every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. where we talk about so many areas, including AI, law, and health. We have some fantastic guests on my show. Don't forget, Sunday evenings at 8 p.m., Straight Lines with Elizabeth Kaiser.
Stand and Fight with Nick Schroer.
Hey, it's Nick Schroer. To preserve this nation, to preserve the experiment in liberty that our founders envisioned, we must take a stand and fight.
Stand and Fight with Nick Schroer. Sunday nights at 6.
Only on NewsTalk STL.
Since 1857, Brannicky Hardware in Bridgeton has been solving the problems the big box stores can't. 5 generations of family ownership, nearly 170 years of friendly, knowledgeable service, helping you find the right part the first time. From one of the area's largest selections of plumbing repair parts to paint, lawn and garden, electrical, and power tools. Plus, they're your authorized steel dealer and service center. Shop local. Brannicky True Value Hardware on the Rock Road in Bridgeton and at BrannickyHardware.com.
If you love your pet, which I know you do, then they deserve the excellent treatment and care they'll receive at Pacific Animal Hospital in Pacific, Missouri, a full-service veterinarian facility. Originally built and grown by my dad, Dr. Bill Jones, a new generation of wonderful veterinarians and staff at Pacific continue to provide outstanding medical, surgical, dental, boarding, and grooming services for your favorite furry friends. Our family entrusts the care of our pets only to the experienced docs and staff at Pacific Animal Hospital. You should too. Call them today, 636-257-2100, 24/7 at PacificVets.com, PacificVets.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. A Senate panel will hear from Dr. Anthony Fauci today. Fauci, at the center of the nation's COVID pandemic response, is scheduled to testify. The testimony comes in the wake of revelations from his diary about COVID-19, its origins, and his role during the pandemic's darkest days. He's in. Jay Clayton confirmed by the Senate as the new Director of National Intelligence.
On this vote, the yeas are 51, the nays are 47, and the nomination is confirmed. Under the previous order, the motion to reconsider is considered made and laid upon the table, and the President will be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
A party line vote in the Senate. A touching eulogy from President Trump, yesterday's funeral of Senator Lindsey Graham at Washington National Cathedral. Mr. Trump calling the late senator from South Carolina a true American original who left us much too soon. Lindsey Graham, described by the president as a force to be reckoned with, someone who gave America the full measure of his good and mighty heart. A huge search and rescue mission underway on Japan's southern island of Kyushu, devastated by a powerful earthquake.
We've been hearing from Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi and her office, and they're saying the rescue effort is continuing. And she has also pointed out a new danger that she's concerned about is the heat stroke. Around this time of the year, Japan becomes very, very hot. It's about 35 degrees Celsius over there. And there are 37,000 homes still without electricity, without air conditioning. And there are thousands of rescue workers who are working throughout the day without any climate control.
The BBC's Jay Kwan says the quake death toll has risen to at least 18. Cleanup the order of the day across flood-ravaged areas of the Northeast and storm-battered parts of the Midwest. On Wall Street, Dow futures down 128, NASDAQ futures up 42 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline, 800-305-6762. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-305-6762 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. That's 800-305-6762 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-305-6762.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking temperatures back towards the upper 80s today. Going to be looking at sunnier skies across much of the area. Could see some upper level wildfire smoke. Not going to be an issue near the surface. As we look off into Thursday, temperatures back towards the upper 80s. Once again, mostly sunny skies. Big changeover is going to be Friday morning. Scattered showers and storms that'll be staying with us off and on as we head off into Saturday as well. And things are looking to dry up this week and temperatures back towards the lower 80s. For the first alert for Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Business owners, download your free playbook for financial clarity at SerenityWealthBiz.com. That's SerenityWealthBiz.com.
Travis Wilson here, State Representative of District 106 in St. Charles, Missouri's first state capital. As a 31-year resident of St. Charles County, I know the issues that are important to our residents, such as protecting women's sports, stopping harmful procedures on minors, and fighting the woke agenda. As your representative, I know what it takes to bring new opportunities to our community to ensure our children have a brighter future. It's been the honor of a lifetime for my family and me to represent you, and I humbly ask for your vote again on August 4th.
Paid for by Wilson for St. Charles. Merle Schneider, Treasurer.
Tuesday night.
Missouri decides 2026.
All the results and reactions from the Missouri State Primary.
You have to get out and vote.
From the voices you know and trust in St. Louis for election night coverage.
Amendment 4.
Amendment 5.
County executives.
Coverage begins Tuesday night at 7 on St. Louis's conservative voice.
Right here.
News Talk STL. Brought to you by Fast Signs in Bridgeton, 21 Recycling in House Springs, Gemini Wealth Group, and Freddie's Market.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
The story behind the story of fire on a U.S. aircraft carrier, killing more than 100.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
I'm not like the rest of you. I don't make mistakes.
Susie Moore.
What you're telling me doesn't sound logical, my dear.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
You need to get to go. I need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin God.
Okay, you think somebody's going to protest?
What?
There's a controversial speaker coming to the St. Louis area.
Oh, no.
I saw a St. Louis Post-Dispatch article talking about the controversial.
Controversial?
Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider's going to do a show in Kirkwood. And the Post-Dispatch. Controversial comedian Rob Schneider set for November performance in Kirkwood.
What exactly makes him controversial?
Because he's conservative.
Oh.
You know,
I feel like they conflate those terms.
Right, yeah.
They're not synonymous.
Contraservative?
And so, and I'm looking at him like controversial comedian. So I read the article, and it was somewhat clickbait, but they spent a lot of the article there over there at the Post-Disgrace just talking about how he was kicked off stage during one of his performances in Canada because he was making a bunch of like trans jokes. In 2017, Schneider publicly lectured civil rights leader U.S. Rep. John Lewis, because remember, if you're a black member of Congress, you are a civil rights leader by default. About Martin Luther King Jr. after Lewis declined to attend the inauguration of President Donald Trump, and that's all it says about that. And then says, boy, in 2024, Schneider's daughter, who's musician Elle King, which I didn't know that till about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
She's actually got a great voice.
She does.
I'm not
Very
really
talented.
a pop music guy, but I actually like her songs. Accused her father of being toxic and sending her to fat camp. And so the whole thing is just like, how Rob Schneider is just, boy, I'd question this guy here. So he's going to be performing in November at let's see here, what is it in Kirkwood? He's going to be at the Kirkwood Performing Arts Center in November. So I'll be reaching out to them today to see if we can schedule Rob Schneider to be on the show.
Right. Well, we love controversial guests.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But I just thought that was pretty funny because, I mean, a lot of comedians, and there is kind of this fad, there is this trend right now, because being, well, I wouldn't even say like politically conservative, but just going back to a normal outlook is like edgy now.
Yes.
I mean, it's like telling jokes about the differences between men and women is edgy now.
Being traditional is countercultural.
It really is. And so not that there aren't left-wing comics out there, but when they come to a performance, if you're not following them, you don't know they were here because they don't get an article saying
not controversial.
Right? There is a comedian, and the guy is just absolutely on the left, named Neil Brennan. Have you ever heard of this guy?
No. I don't think
He's
so.
freaking hilarious. And he's definitely liberal. I mean, or leftist. The guy is funny.
Well, that's good.
I mean,
that's not always the same combo.
He's just funny. And there's, what was he died years ago. Gosh dang it. George Carlin.
Okay.
Obviously, very leftist. And there were times where I'm like, well, that just makes you a jerk. But other times I'm like, that's really funny. very thought
Yeah, if
provoking.
you're funny,
and
you're funny. It
You're
shouldn't matter what your political viewpoint
right.
is.
And then you've got, but it's like, for instance, you hear the other, comedians out there, and they just have a default position that the leftist position is what's accurate. And then if you make fun of conservatives, then you're just funny. You're edgy, or you're not even really that edgy. That's just considered funny. And I don't care if you can get people to pay money to hear you come tell jokes. Okay, whatever. I mean, I'll, like, for instance, there are some leftist comedians. I can laugh at myself. I can laugh at my tribe. I can do that.
Sure.
Some are just hateful. I'm not going to spend my money or time on them. It's not funny. Yeah. But it's kind of funny. Like, what was her name? Amy. What was her name?
Schumer.
Schumer. Yeah. Let's say the really ugly one.
We're playing that game today.
Because the ugly one. And media was trying to tell she was like the funniest, hottest thing about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And she was like trying to do tours of like arenas and stuff, and people just didn't buy tickets.
Yeah.
Because she was like so fall off the charts stupid. I mean, it's like you tell half the country that you hate them and then say buy tickets.
Yeah.
I mean,
not a great marketing strategy.
No, it's not. So what do you think? Is there going to be protesters at Rob Schneider's performance?
Well, you said it's in Kirkwood?
It's in Kirkwood, yeah.
There might be, because, I mean, that's not far from the stomping grounds of a lot of the protest set.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. Yeah. Or their folks' houses, probably, we should say. Their parents' houses.
No. I mean, like the awfuls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or the older boomers that are still trying to live the 60s, relive the glory days of the 60s. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
so
very much
it could be. And
no offense, Kirkwood. Love you.
You know what's funny is with Schneider, because he's spoken at CPAC, and he's gone on some shows I wouldn't go on, but he's spoken at CPAC, and he's spoken at some of the other big sort of conservative things, and he's kind of been had a resurgence in his career because he decided to not hide from being on the right.
Yes.
And in Hollywood, that could be a death knell, but it also shows that there's an audience if you're willing to tell Hollywood to buzz off.
Well, it helps you stand out.
Yeah.
If you're controversial.
Controversial.
Yeah, we've seen that from a few SNL alums. Victoria Jackson. There's definitely, I think that's like the countercultural of the people who are in that genre and like, for instance, associated with Saturday Night Live and that scene. The ones who don't toe the line and who aren't just, part and parcel of the Hollywood set, that makes them stand out.
Right.
So that can be successful. I mean, you still have to be entertaining. You still have to be funny.
If you're not funny, I don't care if you're conservative or not. If you're not funny, I'm not going to listen to you.
Go vote, but I'm not here to pay you money to tell bad jokes.
But yeah, but seriously, go look at NEAL, Neil Brennan.
Okay.
And I'm telling a conservative audience to check out a leftist comedian. But the dude's, because he'll make fun of both sides, and his jokes are absolutely from the left, but they're just funny.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're funny, you're funny. It doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum.
Yeah. So I'll be reaching out to them. I mean, I don't know. Comedians tend to work at night. They don't generally go, oh, sure, I can do a phone call at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Well, why not? They're still up.
But yeah, we'll see there. All right, so we got a couple minutes here. I want to dig into this a little more in depth, maybe when we have more time at 7 o'clock hour. Did you see this thing with Governor Andy Beshear in Kentucky?
I saw a headline. I didn't get to dig into it.
Okay, so basically we have been pretty open about Mitch McConnell. The dude can barely make. He freezes up. He has. He's not functioning, as we have seen a number of Congress critters have this happen. I mean, whether it was Dianne Feinstein, and then there was the one that somebody looked around and went, where's that representative? She hasn't been here in a while.
Yeah, Kay, what is her name?
Yeah.
From Texas.
Yeah, and it's happened to both Republicans and the Democrats. Mitch McConnell's been very, very coy about, yeah, I'm fine, I'm here. Here's a picture, And so Governor Andy Beshear, who is a Democrat, he is maybe one of the last few centrist-ish kind of Democrats out there. But he basically sends a letter to him and to Thune saying, you need to demonstrate that you're fit to serve or you need to resign. Now, McConnell being a Republican, Bashir being a Democrat, that ain't going to happen. But what I want to get into at 7 o'clock is if you take the party labels aside, does he have a point?
Yeah. I mean, I think the problem is because they are from opposing parties.
Right.
And obviously Bashir would appoint McConnell's replacement,
Right.
which will have major implications from a...
Now, McConnell, when's his term up? Is that this year?
Yeah.
So they're gonna elect his replacement anyway.
Yeah.
But you'd still have some key votes covered by a Democrat at that point.
Correct. I mean, you've still got 6 months of voting.
Right.
Well, not because they're on, when they take all the recesses, but you've got 6 months until the new whoever it is would be.
So let me just kind of warn everybody, we're going to do the flip test because there is a state that's run by a Republican who has an elderly Democratic senator.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens if we have a similar situation? How would we, if we're honest with ourselves, would we go, well, of course they need to prove it. Come on, don't worry about the party thing. So I'm going to ask everybody to do kind of the mental exercise flip test next hour.
Okay.
I think it's fair.
Got to warm up. You're going to have to do exercises.
That's right. Get some coffee in you. But that's the question is, is he grandstanding because he's a possible presidential candidate? Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. But is there a point we should talk about? I mean, is he making a fair point, even though, gasp, he's a Democrat?
Right.
Yeah.
Something to think about. Something else to think about is the fact that it is
Bump Day,
which is your weekly reminder to bring
seal clap,
to bring your bump music requests to Jerome, to Good Jerome, because on Friday, of course, it'll be Flashback Friday, and we'll be wanting to play that bump music, and we won't know what you want to hear unless you send it in to Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Please, ICE, do not take my mother-in-law. She lives 311 Nelson Avenue. She's there right now. Please don't come and take her, whatever you do.
On Newstalk STL.
You want to give me more information?
Looking for unbelievable deals? Stop by Overstock Outlet in Lake St. Louis or Warrenton. Open 7 days a week. Discover big savings on a huge variety of merchandise with no hassle. Just great prices. Visit us in Lake St. Louis on Highway N or in Warrenton on Boones Lake. Check out our Facebook page at Overstock Outlet Lake St. Louis. Or go online to OverstockOutletSTL.com. Unbeatable value, friendly service, and you never know what we'll have at Overstock Outlet.
Can you believe politicians nearly doubled state spending since 2019? Yeah, that's twice the rate of inflation.
What do we get for all that extra spending? Nothing.
Yeah, and get this, over 200 loopholes are buried in our tax code, written by lobbyists for wealthy corporations.
Our tax code is rigged against us.
We get taxed on our paycheck, our home, everything we buy.
I guess somebody's got to pay for all that spending.
That's why we need Amendment 5. It puts politicians on a leash.
Forces them to cut taxes and control spending, whether they like it or not.
Amendment 5 closes the loopholes, eliminates income taxes, cuts property taxes, and gives $3,000 a year to average working families.
We decide, not the politicians.
Amendment 5 is the biggest tax cut in Missouri history.
I'm voting yes on Amendment 5. Paid for by Missouri Promise PAC. Mark Ellinger, Treasurer.
At Body of Health, we're a small but mighty family operation with big ambitions for your health. I'm Helene Tobler, and I'm jazzed about how our MRI-grade body composition analyzer is putting personalized health and wellness on steroids. It helps me and Dr. Tobler, that's my husband, refine the advice we give to help you feel better and live longer. Body of Health, trusted, discerning, affordable health care the way it ought to be. Learn more at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
let's get back to all this madcap mayhem with Mike Ferguson in the morning. But don't forget, stick around for Jones and Arps every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m.
Boston Bread Co. That doesn't have a good ring to it.
No.
No, that doesn't sound
No.
right. That doesn't. No.
Mm-mm.
I don't think they're going to try that.
Do not accept.
No.
I don't think I'd eat something called Boston bread.
No.
That just sounds wrong.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a little moldy.
So we got a little bit of a gut punch. So let's get into that here in a minute because there are a couple things. I just did a couple cursory looks comparing Missouri and Massachusetts on a couple things. I'm like, man, some of this move just financially on the surface. You're like, what were they offered? It's not like it's a massive thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs kind of thing, but still, they're moving from a red state to a blue state to a much worse tax environment at the very least. We'll dig into that here in just a few minutes here. It is coming up on 6:20, 6:19 right now. Got Susie here, got Jerome here. My name is Mike. Obviously, a lot going on in Washington, D.C., around the world, as always, and that's why RedState.com should be up in your browser. Just have the tab right there, RedState.com. So, Susie, what are we looking for to start off the day today?
This is the Red State Rundown.
First up on Red State today, you want to check this out by Nick Arama. Hilarious. You won't believe the scam the DNC fell for. Not only are they facing all kinds of economic, financial woes, they're in debt, they're having to hawk their headquarters, all that stuff. They fell for one of those scams.
What? Was it the Nigerian prince?
Pretty much.
Oh.
And I mean, the payout was like $29,000. It wasn't like, huge amount of money relative to what parties spend, but considering their financial dire straits that they're in, yeah, they fell for one of those.
Was it a European woman who really loves him?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know all the specifics. I just know that they did, and this is the party that's going to be asking you to put them in charge.
Oh, okay.
So, something to keep in mind.
I'm thinking of all the different scams that have been out there.
Yeah.
Just click on this link and...
Well, someone at the DNC fell for it. This one's fun from Kyle Becker. Rogue judge finally gets an act named after him. What it does is hilarious. That's right. The Boasberg Act is being introduced by none other than Eric Schmidt.
Okay.
Yes, this is, let me see if I can come up with what the acronym stands for. It stands for Blocking Overt Attempts at Shopping by Enforcing Randomization Guidelines Act. In other words, they're trying to keep people from being able to judge shop and judges from being able to acquire cases because it's supposed to be just like a random assignment situation.
Okay, we've known Eric a long time.
We have.
Long before he was in the Senate. I can tell you that they had some fun with his office staff coming up with here's the acronym, figure out what we're going to back to.
Absolutely, they played with that, yes.
That was a fun meeting, I guarantee you.
No doubt about it. There is one other story I do want to point out because it's pertinent to today. It's from Terry Christoph. My God, horrendous. This devastating X thread just shredded whatever is left of Fauci's legacy. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too because Fauci, and it looks like that testimony is actually going to start early today. Yeah. So, that's something I'm going to put out there. What can we hope for best case scenario, given obviously the pardons that he was bequeathed in the last administration. So I want to dig into that at some point as well. Maybe we'll have some time here in a few minutes on that. 6:22 right now. The news that I think is stinging a lot of people in St. Louis, because I think not only has everybody been to a bread co, but it's one of those stops that pretty much everybody gets something from there pretty regularly. I mean, bread co's just, whether it's the pastry or the soups or the whatever, I mean, there's a bread co everywhere. And it's one of those true St. Louis entrepreneurial stories. Mm-hmm. I mean, you had the couple that started one in Kirkwood in 1987. And then by 1993, they had almost 24, locations. And then they got purchased by a bigger company for whatever, tens of millions of dollars. And then that gets purchased by somebody else. And now it's $1 billion plus, well, maybe not, but hundreds of millions of dollars. And they're worldwide. Mm-hmm. And now they announce, and the thing is, they didn't necessarily announce. They announced internally, and then somebody leaked it to the local media in St. Louis.
Right.
And David Amilati over Channel 4 was one of the first to get a hold of it. Mm-hmm. And turns out they're leaving St. Louis. They're taking the corporate headquarters of this St. Louis-built brand, and they're taking it to Boston, or just outside Boston.
Right. I mean, many of us still kind of absentmindedly refer to it as St. Louis Bread Co.
And there's a couple locations where that's actually still what it's called.
So that's what it's all, just like X is Twitter. Sorry. I mean, you get used to a certain branding. So, okay, but to be real honest,
we're kind of holding on to that like with a vengeance a little bit. We know the sign says Panera to the, like, if you're going to go to the one maybe over here off Schutz Road or off the out by our station, but or the, what do they call it, the outer road, the Page outer road. But if somebody goes, hey, let's go to Panera, a St. Louis person is going, Breadco. We know it's Panera, but we still are holding on to it because that's what we do.
That's what it'll always be in our hearts and minds. Right. But I mean, they're not like closing their store locations. So the you can still go get your Breadco. It's just not going to be a St. Louis-based company net. But it does make me wonder: are we going to get St. Louis Market?
Oh, well.
Boston Market.
Boston Market.
Little
that's
trade.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of gone out of style. I don't know if
yeah,
there's any of those
honestly,
open
they're
anymore.
not as good. I mean, they're okay. They're not as good.
Oh, no.
I mean, and remember, because a couple years ago, Breadco kind of, came under some fire because they were losing money like a lot of restaurants were. The shutdowns and COVID stuff was hard on them just like everybody else. But they cut back on their servings and they kind of got slammed because they were adjusting by cutting cost and quality, frankly. And now they're like, yeah, we can't do that. And they're trying to ramp that back up and adding a bunch of new stuff. But, they've got really good coffee. I've been in Breadco several times the last few weeks.
They have a good variety on their menu, too. That's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of different options to choose from. And it's still, what fast food prices today are not what they used to be.
No.
But it's still in that ballpark.
I did a quick search this morning just because I was curious. Because Massachusetts, obviously, very, very blue state. Missouri, very red state. Massachusetts' corporate income tax rate is double Missouri's. Double. So by relocating their corporate headquarters to Massachusetts, and I'm sure there's probably some deal or incentives or something, which I have not seen any reporting of, but they're moving from a 4% corporate income tax rate state to an 8% corporate income tax rate. They're walking.
Tax me more.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that was pointed out, and I think it was funny because St. Louis media was doing this a little bit with a vengeance, a little bit, but it's like, it should be noted that their CEO's hometown is just outside of Boston. He's from that area, as though he's going to make a hundreds of millions of dollar decision because he wants to go home and see grandma.
But why are they making the decision is what you have to ask. Because if it's not tax incentives, you don't just pick it out of the blue.
Well, and the cost of living is much higher there.
Correct. Yeah. So there's some reason why they want to relocate the headquarters there.
Yeah, I don't know the answer because they confirmed that when media started calling, but they haven't gone in a lot of deal. Maybe they will today, but they haven't. Now they are leaving some like support positions here in St. Louis.
Correct.
But hundreds of jobs are affected, and so people will either be moving to the Boston area, just outside Boston, or they're going to be looking for something else to do in this market.
Right.
So. Yeah, that's a little bit of a gut punch, not even just because it's hundreds of jobs here in the area, which is bad enough, but just because like that was one of the things that was literally started and built here in St. Louis County.
It's identified with the area. Yeah. There's a lot of restaurant closures announced this week.
Yeah,
the right. Applebee's in Baldwin is closing. Crushed Red is closing 2 locations.
Yeah, Applebee's has been kind of falling apart for a while, though. I
mean,
they're not
don't
what they
tell
used
that to my mom. My mom's 93, and there aren't very many things that she likes to eat anymore because she doesn't really have a sense of taste and smell.
Yeah.
But she likes their boneless wings, and it's going to be sad for her that she can't go get her Applebee's.
Yeah, no,
I'm sad for her.
I mean, years ago, I loved Applebee's, and I was in one. It's been a couple years because I went into the one down off Handley Road, and I'm like, ew.
Yeah, but the one in Baldwin, I think, was always, it seemed to me, was always busy when I went to pick up her darn wings. So I don't know. It just seems, I've seen so many, closure notifications.
Yeah, I didn't know about Crushed Red.
Yeah, two of the locations are the St. Charles location and some other location are being closed.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, listen, restaurants are hard.
Yes,
to
they
make
are
because they
it's
work
a tough
on
business.
Such narrow margins, and any shift in the cost of any sort of product, can affect them in a huge way. And even though it's a hard business to be in, there's a lot of competition for it because everybody seems to have the dream that my theme of a restaurant's gonna be the one that works.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bummed by it. I'm more curious than anything else.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, it's one of our things, and I think that's the reaction.
We've got our friend Steve, who's got some thoughts. on
Okay,
this.
Steve, and just so you know, I got about 90 seconds before I got to get to the information segment.
Cool. Yeah, you stole my thunder a little bit when you mentioned the new CEO was from Boston.
Yeah.
I was going to raise that very question. That is not the first instance of corporations moving their headquarters to Malfi as part of a deal, hiring of a new CEO. I mean, that was going to be my suggestion. Do they have a new boss? Is he from Boston? Before I even heard you mention that. If you remember years ago, Southwestern Bell moved out of St. Louis to Dallas. Reason? Their new CEO was from Dallas. So this is not unusual.
I remember years ago, Steve, and I want to say it was one of the guys I worked with at Show Me back in the day, Show Me Institute. But somebody, I think they were telling me, somebody did just like a cursory look at a bunch of corporate headquarter moves. Now, this is going back to like the 90s or early 2000s, and this is all correlation. We can't say it's causation. But what they found is that almost every time there was a move, the corporate headquarters moved closer to the CEO's house or their hometown.
Yeah, so this is, it's not always the normal business dollars and cents decisions that we would normally think about. A lot of times it is something like that. Just they wanted this guy so bad, apparently, or they thought he was so talented, they were willing to pull up stakes and move the whole headquarters because this guy didn't want to move from Boston to St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, he's been their CEO for a little while, but he was with Duncan before that, which is New England-based as well, and then they hired him out of Duncan, and so he's been with them for years, but that's his background.
No, he just became their CEO in March of 2025.
Oh, okay, so
I'm looking it up
year,
while we're
yeah,
talking.
yeah. Okay, so this has likely been in the works for a while there.
And
Okay.
Quick mention of the flip test with Andy Brashear.
Yeah.
It's not quite apples to apples, but I think we've had our real-life flip test in the past. We certainly have Joe Biden and the Democrats hiding his mental state.
Yep.
Dianne Feinstein out in California was certainly incapacitated for years. Teddy Kennedy, who they brought in a wheelchair with brain cancer to cast a vote on, what was that, Obamacare? He cast a deciding vote on something. They wheeled him in.
Well, Strom Thurmond back in the day, too.
And
Yeah.
So this is not uncommon. They wait till they get their ducks in a row in terms of getting a successor, and they, milk it for all they can get.
Yep.
I think we've had our flip test.
Yeah, we'll dig into that, I think, a little more in the 7 o'clock hour, too. But, yeah, that's a good point. We'll bring that up, Steve. Thanks so much.
No problem.
There's confusion around Amendment 4 and around Amendment 5. At 6:35, we're going to clear that up. Don't let the misinformation scare you away from voting on it next week.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Haven't you all got any local radio news programs in this fair city of yours?
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Meteorologist Chance Gotcha with your first alert forecast. We're tracking temperatures back towards the upper 80s today. Going to be looking at sunnier skies across much of the area. Could see some upper level wildfire smoke. Not going to be an issue near the surface. As we look off into Thursday, temperatures back towards the upper 80s. Once again, mostly sunny skies. Big changeover is going to be Friday morning. Scattered showers and storms that'll be staying with us off and on as we head off into Saturday as well. And things are looking to dry up this week and temperatures back towards the lower 80s. For the first alert for Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
When decisions matter most, experience isn't optional. Tim Whitney has spent nearly 24 years serving Jefferson County through the Sheriff's Office. As a former SWAT commander, he has led under pressure, made critical decisions, and understood what it means to be prepared when leadership matters most. Today, as Undersheriff and Chief Financial Officer, Tim helps lead hundreds of employees, manages one of the county's largest budgets, and protects taxpayers with conservative accountability. Tim Whitney brings the kind of real-world executive experience Jefferson County needs in its next county executive.
I'm Tim Whitney. Jefferson County isn't just where I've served. It's where my wife and I are raising our family and where we've chosen to build our life. I'm running for county executive because I believe our county's future matters. Together we can support responsible growth, strengthen public safety, protect taxpayers, and preserve the character that makes Jefferson County home. I'd be honored to earn your vote.
Paid for by Friends of Tim Whitney, Heather Missy Treasurer.
When Donald Trump needs conservative votes to help pass his agenda for Missouri, Representative Tricia Burns never answers the call. Tricia Burns has missed 370 votes. Burns is bucking President Trump's priorities. Burns did not vote to stop DEI initiatives, prevent China from owning Missouri land, defund Planned Parenthood, and Burns did not vote to ban boys from girls' sports. Tricia Burns not showing up for Missouri and President Trump. Instead, Tricia Burns spends her time pulling pranks on the Suicide Prevention Hotline. Yes, you heard that right. Tricia Burns lied to the police and staged a fake suicide emergency. She sent a series of messages to the hotline and said she, quote, had a gun to her head, end quote. When she got caught, she said there'd be no consequences because she's a politician. By August 4th, vote to show Tricia Burns that there are consequences to being bad at your job. Cut the Bullpack paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new NewsTalkSTL app.
Love the all-new NewsTalkSTL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the NewsTalkSTL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey, this is Carl Higbee, host of Frontline on Newsmax TV, and you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Sometimes I'm kind of amazed that I'm still on the air because I just tend to call things as I see them, even when it doesn't fit the narrative that our side wants to hear.
Mhm.
Let's be really, really candid and really, really honest. Things are looking really dicey for Amendment 5. That they just are.
There's been some pretty heavy pushback.
It's looking really, really dicey at best. That's the most polite way I can put it. But here's the thing: is I do not want what's going on with Amendment 5 to affect the conversation about Amendment 4.
They're two different things.
They're two very different things, and the left is trying to lump them together. I've been warning about this for weeks because I started seeing the trend, and they're lumping them together, making people think that they're in tandem, and they are not.
No.
And what's really disturbing to me is how many people I'm seeing who tell me that they're conservatives or tell me that the Republicans are like, you know what, I'm hearing this thing and I just don't think I can go with Amendment 4. Now, first of all, grassroots conservatives have been demanding an initiative petition reform because of all of the tens or hundreds of millions of dollars over the years that have been poured into buying constitutional amendments in our state. And we can't seem to get past some very, very basic conceptual discussions about what the state constitution is and should be and why this matters. So Byron Keelin from Freedom Principle is with us right now. You were at the thing last night, right? You were
I was.
I know you talked about 4 and 5. I think
I was the speaker for 4.
Yeah, I think the emphasis was more 5, but there was 4. And this is one of the things that I want people to understand, that make up your own mind on Amendment 5, and there are fair questions about it. I'm voting for it, but I get it. But Amendment 4 is a totally different thing. And the other side is trying to lump these and link these together and get this idea that, well, if you've decided you're no on 5, then, well, you got to be no on 4. And it's an effective campaign tactic, but we need to fight like crazy for Amendment 4 in particular. I think this is the more important of the two.
I agree. And the issue here is that you have to understand is that the Realtors Association is behind both of them, because they admitted to Ben Keithley in a hearing last year when they had the first hearing on the tax bill that they bought and paid for their tax exemption using the initiative petition process. So that they want to be able to buy their own little carve-outs when it comes to Amendment 5 for sales tax exemptions or any kind of other tax carve-outs that they get, because they've got the lobbyists to do this. And so this is why they're against reforming the initiative petition process. So when you say no on 4 and 5 is really what it is. It's the Realtors Association basically wanting to keep their special interest carve-outs on that. But we need, and this is the reason why we need Amendment 4, though, is that because every 2 years we elect a representative and senator to represent us in Jefferson City, but that vote is being stolen or suppressed with these initiative petition processes because these corporations and progressives come in and they bypass the legislature. So no one in the current legislature, except for the Democrats, would have voted for the Amendment 3 in 2024. Mm-hmm. No one in the current legislature, except for Democrats, would have voted for Medicaid expansion without a funding mechanism on this. And so, but what we have here is mob rule. And this is what John Locke talked about, is that, we are, the citizens are the government, or, they come as a collection and form the government, and the government then represents us. He was against mob rule. He basically said that the only time you ever need mob rule is when you have total tyranny, and we're not in tyranny in this state, really, at all. And so, but you have 8 out of 114 or 15 counties dictating how amendments are passed. And so, you got the camera here, but this is a map, and it shows that basically St. Louis City, Kansas City, and Columbia are dictating what goes into our Constitution. And that's got to stop here and we have to make sure that with Amendment 4 that we have the equal representation, that all people have an equal say in what goes into our Constitution.
Yeah. Yeah, Byron, I finally stuck my neck out and shared my thoughts on it, which I rarely do on Facebook. And I will tell you what some of the pushback that I'm seeing. One of them is, okay, but now if we do this, then one congressional district can hold the rest of the state hostage. And I pointed out, well, isn't the counter argument to that the way we have it now, basically the 2 or 3 population centers, get to tell the rest of the state what our Constitution is going to say? So, isn't this a way to kind of even that out? But what's your response to that? Hostage.
That's a very common talking point that we're hearing.
Yeah, well, and it's the same thing that we hear all the time from, but the issue here is that if that one county or one congressional district is opposing something that the rest of the state is, ask yourself why. What is the impact to that one district? Mm-hmm. Think of the 2nd congressional district here in St. Louis. If there was a proposed merger for city and St. Louis County on the ballot, we could expect that Kansas City, Springfield, Cape Girardeau, and north of Missouri, St. Louis area would probably vote for it because they would say we deserve what we get. Mm-hmm. We hear that a lot when we talk about crime in St. Louis. Oh, you guys deserve what you get because you keep voting Democrats. Well, this would have a huge impact on the financial stability of St. Louis County if we had the merger. So why would St. Louis County not? We don't want the state to dictate what one county is. And when you think about it, look at Jackson County for Amendment 2 right now. We are voting to allow them to elect their own assessor. So why are we even having that discussion? They're a big county. They should be able to do whatever they want. But then we have these things. So we've got to get rid of this type of situation where St. Louis City and Kansas City has the population of Jackson County is bigger than 59 counties in Missouri. So you're going to let one county dictate what happens to 59 counties.
Right. Okay, let me jump in and play devil's advocate here. Not that I believe it, but what we're hearing here. You talk about buying the constitutional amendments, for instance, you mentioned the horrific pro-abortion one that was passed a couple years ago, and we've got the, whether it was marijuana, whether it's gambling or whatever it is. Somebody says, well, yeah, but people still voted yes. They still voted for it. The people still spoke. Mm-hmm. So this is trying to take away power from the people. Now, I know that's bunk. But why is it bunk?
Well, because they're not advertising what actually is in the amendment. The fact is that when you look at Amendment 3, they only advertised about the exceptions that it was going to do. They didn't advertise it says, well, it's going to get transgender surgeries for minors. It's going to take away parental consent for parents. It's going to remove all health and safety standards for women. So that is the thing, is that these citizen initiative petitions are not vetted before they go on the ballot. They get to write what they want. They get to do whatever they want, and then they go out and spend $5 million and pay some purple hair nose ring lady from California to come in And when you ask them a question about it, there is no, I don't know, I'm just out here getting the signature. And half the time they're telling you false information about it. And people, unfortunately, people reluctantly, they just gullibly sign these things. And so that's part of the problem. And that's what Amendment 4 will also fix, is it will prosecute petition fraud. It will stop the George Soros and this Hansborg Weiss money from coming in and funding these things. When you think about Amendment 3 in 2024, the 1630 Foundation, which is funded by a Swiss billionaire, gave $10 million to the pro-Amendment 3 group in 2024. We only lost by about 1.5%.
Yeah,
so that $10 million made a huge difference in this. And so this is the kind of thing. And when you think about like the corporate special interests with the sports betting, all that you had the NEA out there pimping themselves out, prostituting themselves out, saying, oh, this is going to be great for education. Well, they didn't read the amendment, and it says they get to deduct their marketing expenses, their legal expenses, their lobbying expenses, their overhead. They get to deduct everything before they even have to put out to education. So we have all this false information out there, and that's why we need to have hearings for these things, which is Amendment 4 will do. We need to end the foreign funding, and then you get the ballot language. When you get your ballot, you get the amendment. And when you think about it, there are more words in the marijuana amendment in our Constitution than are in the entire U.S. Constitution, including the 27 amendments. And that's the kind of thing that people didn't realize, that the marijuana amendment embedded DEI into our Constitution.
Yeah. One of the things with that, and I know Susie's got a question in the last few minutes we've got here. We're visiting with Byron Keelin from the Freedom Principle Mo. And that is, even if you are pro legalization, you're like, yeah, we should have done that in the state. Okay, first and foremost, the industry wrote their own constitutionally protected rules. The industry bought and put into the state constitution their own regulations that they wrote themselves. The gambling industry did the exact same thing. They bought their own regulations. And whether you're conservative or leftist or whatever, can we agree that special interest should not be writing our state constitution? But apparently we can't agree on that.
No, I agree. It really isn't, it's really a bad situation. And, and people keep talking about Amendment 5 and how it exempts the marijuana stuff. Well, it's a different part of the Constitution. So that's the other aspect of this, is that we can't do more multi-subject bills. So, that's something that's going to have to be addressed in a later time.
Yeah, and I would say that the one thing is that I'm seeing kind of across the board acknowledgement, with some exceptions, that maybe there should be a higher bar to when you're talking about constitutional amendments as opposed to statutes. But then the question is raised, okay, well, but this only addresses initiative petition amendments, amendments that are put forth by the citizens. Why isn't this addressing amendments that are put on there by the legislature?
The issue is that this goes back to Locke's theory or teachings, is that the government is a representative of the body. The legislature is a concurrent majority. We elect, through our Senate and congressional districts, our representatives to speak on our behalf. And so when they go down to Jefferson City, they are getting that statewide approval of something that goes on the ballot. And that's the issue here, is that we're a representative republic, and that's what they're supposed to be doing. And if we're not happy with what they're doing, then we have to take it upon ourselves, as Locke said, vote them out.
Sure.
We should, if you are unhappy with how the legislature works, either run for office, fund another candidate, or, if and just
vote differently.
Vote differently.
Right.
I mean, the fact is that we have almost an 80 to 90% return of state legislators because we have term limits. Everybody figures, well, I can suffer through this for 8 years. Well, no, that's the problem, is that we term limits has turned us into lazy people.
True.
Because it makes it easier for us to just accept this, and then, well, they'll be out and we can find somebody else, and they're going to have more money and things like this. But what we're finding is that there are a lot of people out there that are willing to run for office and willing to stand up for principles, and that's the people that we've been funding through the Missouri 82 Alliance, and that's what we're hoping happens in this next session.
Okay, so let's give out the information. People say, all right, I want to learn more about your take on all this. Amendment 4 in particular, just how do they get in touch, all that sort of thing? Where do they find it?
Go to freedomprincipalmo.org, and on the website there on the main page is the Yes on 4 logo. You can click on that. You can download our videos, our talking points, all the information about why you need to vote yes on Amendment 4.
And Amendment 4 is a pro-life measure.
Yes.
And it is also one that this is one that honestly should not be as controversial. But when you see the pushback, and I'm frustrated with so many, frankly, so-called conservatives who are falling for the talking points. Amendment 4 is a conservative measure because it is a constitutional. When I say Republican, I mean the Republican form of government, not the Republican Party, because this will restrict Republicans as well down the road. This is a good government measure. This is the one we need to be all in on.
I agree. And yeah, they can go to freedomprincipalmo.org and come out. We're going to be, I think, speaking at a town hall again in Florissant on Thursday.
Okay.
So, and, happy to, they can email us and call us, and we'll happy to talk
all right.
to them.
Thanks, Byron. Appreciate it.
Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, as you guys know, Election Day is Tuesday, and if you want to know what's going to be on your ballot, you can go to NewsTalkSTL.com and check out what will you see on your ballot August 4th. That resource is right there. It's easy for you to look at and easy for you to get the information.
News, analysis.
I'm glad you're talking about this.
Opinion.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too, because I know I am.
News Talk STL.
Republican Chris Sander is the true fiscal conservative running for state representative. Chris Sander says it's time to stop Travis Wilson giving away hundreds of millions of dollars in state tax credits to special interests, billions of tax dollars given away to private developers of empty office buildings in St. Louis and sports stadiums in Kansas City. Chris Sander will work to bring our tax dollars home to St. Charles. We need a representative in our corner, not another lobbyist for St. Louis or Kansas City. Please vote for Chris Sander, Republican for state representative, the true fiscal conservative.
Paid for by Sander for Missouri. Patricia Van Dyne, Treasurer.
Bengal's restaurant offers an inviting atmosphere, neighborly service, and a vibrant happy hour scene, all in the heart of Warson Woods. From their kitchen to your plates, beloved comfort favorites like chicken parmesan and lasagna to steakhouse-style classics. Slide up to the vintage bar or hit the patio for happy hour specials every Tuesday through Friday. Bengal's Restaurant and Bar, 10017 Manchester Road. Check out the menu and reserve a table online at bengalsrestaurant.com.
The Laborers International Union of North America, Local 110, was formed in 1933 and from the beginning has strived for progress and the well-being of others. The laborers of Local 110 are hardworking men and women who take pride in their great work. They are the fastest-growing union of construction workers and one of the most effective unions representing plants and quarries. Laborers Local 110 has the best medical benefits, pension, education, and heavy construction training in the market. Visit lu110.com and start your future today.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey guys, Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. Hope you had enough time to freshen up your coffee, because now we're back with Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, an iconic St. Louis-based brand is leaving St. Louis, and a governor says Mitch McConnell should prove that he can still serve or step down. I'm going to give you the basics right here, and then I think we need to dig into this a little bit more. And yes, we had some folks asking about the Fauci testimony coming up. Oh, yeah, we're talking about it. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that as well. And listen, I really do not want to win my bet with Scooter.
I really don't want you to.
I do not want to win my bet with Scooter, but I might win my bet with Scooter. I don't want to. I'll tell you what that's all about. It is 6:53 right now. Let's do a quick news dump here.
The Morning News Dump, brought to you by Whistle Pig Outdoors. The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
Okay, a national brand born in St. Louis, leaving the Lou, formerly known as St. Louis Bread Co. Panera, confirms that it's moving its corporate headquarters to the Boston area next year. Some support operations will remain in the area, but hundreds of corporate jobs are expected to be affected. The first Bread Co. was opened in Kirkwood in 1987. The chain was purchased in 1993 and is now owned through other acquisitions later by the parent company that also owns Einstein Brothers Bagels and Caribou Coffee.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yep. Okay. So they are, it's going to be, I think, next summer, I think, is when they're actually going to complete the move.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right, let's see here. Senator Lindsey Graham honored with a funeral service at the National Cathedral in Washington on Tuesday. His casket was brought into the cathedral. Those attending sang a hymn, and President Trump spoke, saying in his words, Graham fought for a strong America. Am I not up?
You're on.
I'm on?
You plugged in?
Oh, my goodness. Okay, here we go.
He had unwavering faith in the righteousness of American power and prayer. He was extremely hawkish. I will tell you, he never saw a war that he didn't like. Only his true friends would understand that, but he wanted it for the good of our country.
No, I think we all understand it. Yeah. All right, Lindsey Graham was 71 years old when he died earlier this month. Doctors say it was an aortic dissection. His sister, Darlene Graham, how you pronounce her last name there? Nordone was appointed in his place, and she's now running to succeed him as well. Okay, so let's talk a little Anthony Fauci here. Okay, so he's going to be testifying today. Former director of the National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, Anthony Fauci, facing scrutiny ahead of his hearing before Congress today after Kentucky Senator Rand Paul releasing the former official's personal diary from the time of the COVID-19 shutdown era. The senator repeating his accusations that the former director destroyed records to protect himself from congressional investigations.
I would suggest if we ask him tomorrow, did you destroy records, that he admit it, because we have evidence. His lawyers have seen the evidence. We put the evidence into the public sphere.
Former director previously denying those accusations. Fauci, of course, facing backlash in part for contradicting the Trump administration's claim that COVID-19 originated from a lab in Wuhan. And, of course, then you look at all the just destruction and terror that happened to the entire country, a lot of it at the behest of listening to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So those hearings are happening this morning.
Yeah, it starts at 7:30 our time.
Yeah, so just 35 minutes from right now is when that's going to be happening here. All right, the minivan is making a comeback.
What?
Yeah. According to industry research cited by CNN, minivan sales went up 21% in 2025. Big jump, like 400,000 minivans. A key driving force behind the surge? Millennials.
Okay.
Millennials are buying minivans.
Nostalgic.
Well, here's the thing. Millennials are now in their 30s and 40s.
Yes.
What do 30s and 40s people tend to have?
Kids. But, yeah, that's been the case all along.
Yeah, but that's why they're now coming in and they're now kind of discarding the minivans aren't cool. And they're like, hey, they're less expensive than SUVs. And that side door sure is nice.
They're very practical.
Yes, they're very practical. Exactly. The most popular minivan in the U.S. last year was the Toyota Sienna, in case you were scoring at home. Okay. Just saying. All right, the Cardinals are now below 500 on the season. Yep, that's after last night's embarrassing 10-2 loss to the Cubs at Busch Stadium. Third game of that four-game series is tonight at 6:45. Dustin May going to be on the mound for the Redbirds, who are now 14 games back in the division, and they have lost 8 of their last 10 games.
NewsTalkSTL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airwaves for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on NewsTalkSTL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Tired of settling for generic fishing gear?
Say hello to Bullseye Bait and Tackle, O'Fallon's one-stop shop for serious anglers. Live bait, premium tackle, rods, reels, and an unbeatable selection of lures from top brands like Megabass, Zoom, and Berkley. Whether you're after bass, catfish, crappie, or bluegill, they've got the gear to help you land the big one. Plus, their expert team, led by Mark and Liz, provides rod and reel repair services. Bullseye Bait and Tackle, 266 Fort Zumwalt Square, or at bullseyebaitandtackle.net.
And the match is about to begin.
Most of the team is out with COVID-19, so there'll be some substitutes tonight.
What's this? We have an unexpected guest on the field.
It's a dog. Well, they could do with extra players.
She's going for the ball.
Are front paws hands or feet?
Soccer season is full of surprises, and COVID-19 could be one of them. If you test positive, prescription medications may help. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Learn more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. He was a true American original who left us much too soon. President Trump's description of the late Senator Lindsey Graham. Mr. Trump eulogized the South Carolina Republican at his funeral yesterday at Washington National Cathedral. Vice President Vance says that Senator Graham really was one of a kind.
That swashbuckling, infectious laugh, that attitude, that passion that so many others have talked about. Lindsey Graham was impossible not to like as a human being and, of course, as a United States Senator.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, a key figure in America's COVID response, heading to Capitol Hill this morning to testify before a Senate panel. Fauci, who during the depths of the pandemic had declared that he was science. Things heating up once again in the Middle East.
Jordan has said its military managed to intercept 5 Iranian missiles early on Wednesday. The interceptions come hours after the U.S. military said it had knocked down an Iranian missile barrage launched against American forces in the Middle East, shattering a brief pause in fighting. The U.S. military also confirmed it worked with Saudi Arabia's forces to strike sites in Iraq, where it says it targeted Iranian-backed militias. The Iranian strikes come a day after an Iranian government spokesperson said recent U.S. strikes destroyed critical infrastructure in Iran, including an airport tower and several bridges and tunnels. I'm Karen Shamas.
Ukraine says it has hit one of Russia's largest oil refineries, stepping up the economic and diplomatic pressure on Moscow. Today's attack on the refinery, which produces gasoline as well as other fuels, reportedly ignited a fire and sent a half dozen people to the hospital. Watching Wall Street, the Dow futures are down 172 points. NASDAQ futures up 51. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Well, it's official. My friends have all switched to Pure Talk because I told them they could save a bunch of money on a super reliable high-speed network with unlimited data. And because they're my friends, they trust me. As for the rest of you, well, Pure Talk understands that even though you might like me, you're not just going to take my word for it, nor should you. For that reason, and for a very limited time, Pure Talk is offering any of their plans for just $15 a month for the first 3 months, including their top-tier unlimited plan that normally sells for $65 a month. Think of it like a test drive, a super simple way to save $150 while you kick the tires on Pure Talk's blazing fast network, and a fine way to see for yourself why I switched from big wireless, along with a few 100,000 of my closest friends. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and be connected to Pure Talk's friendly U.S. customer service team. Again, dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and let the savings begin.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Meteorologist Shane Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking temperatures back towards the upper 80s today. Going to be looking at sunnier skies across much of the area. Could see some upper level wildfire smoke. Not going to be an issue near the surface. As we look off into Thursday, temperatures back towards the upper 80s. Once again, mostly sunny skies. Big changeover is going to be Friday morning. Scattered showers and storms that'll be staying with us off and on as we head off into Saturday as well. And things are looking to dry up this week and temperatures back towards the lower 80s. For the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Couch.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Window World of St. Louis. For replacement windows, doors, and siding, call 800-GET-WINDOWS. That's 800-GET-WINDOWS.
Are you tired of hard chlorinated water drying your skin out, tasting bad, and ruining your fixtures? Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to this pollution. Our Hydratech H2O leaves you with great tasting, soft water at all fixtures in your home with one unit. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit us on the web at joneswater.com. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water, 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
Tired of big corporate repair shops? J&J Auto and Tire is family owned and St. Louis proud. 16 years of honest answers, even when it's not what you want to hear. Digital inspections sent straight to your phone, videos and photos of exactly what we found. No guesswork, no pressure, just a trained service advisor helping you make the right call. Contactless drop-off, loyalty rewards, fleets welcome. All backed by a 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty. J&J Auto and Tire on Page and Overland. Honest repairs, real people. Book today. JamandJAuto.com.
Mike Ferguson.
What is that private pile? Sir, jelly donuts, sir. A jelly donut?
Susie Moore.
Mama don't like tattletales.
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
There's a buzz at the U.S. Capitol right now. I'm looking at some live streaming video.
Yeah.
Coming from outside of the hearing rooms. Anthony Fauci expected.
Fauci fever.
Yeah, Anthony Fauci expected to make his appearance probably in the next, probably next 20 minutes, and then the hearings are about to start in about 25 minutes. Media being roped off, and attendees who are going to be there, security everywhere. Anthony Fauci going to kind of face the fire, I would say, of a congressional hearing, but it's Rand Paul and the Republicans.
Yeah.
That he's going to be under the gun. So let's go into that a lot more in depth at 7:20. Let me know what you're hoping for, what you think's going to happen. You start giving us those comments on social media and get ready to talk about that around 7:20. 7:06 right now. Okay, so partisan political performance of an inspiring presidential candidate. A lot of P's in there. Well, probably, but does he have a point? Mm-hmm. And here's the thing is, even though they're on the other side, occasionally you have to say, well, does he have a point?
Sure.
Okay, so here's what's going on. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear says Senator Mitch McConnell should prove that he can still serve in the United States Senate or he should resign. Okay, so speaking of Rand Paul, I got some comments from him here. Beshear sent a letter Tuesday to Mitch McConnell and also to John Thune to directly address the public, wanting McConnell to address the public, show that he's still able to function, resign from office after spending, about a month and a half now. And he was in the hospital. Now he's in a
like a rehab
physical
facility.
therapy rehab sort of thing. Senator Rand Paul reacting.
He wants to jump in. There's a lot of news over how Senator McConnell is doing. And so to appear relevant, he's putting out inflammatory statements and this and that.
So Senator McConnell's office says that the senator remains at that rehab facility. He's not yet medically cleared to return to work. They say he had a fall at his home on June 14th, so about a month and a half ago. We've been watching the decline of Mitch McConnell for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
He freezes up. We've watched him fall. We've watched him lock up, like literally the computer little circle thing that goes on your screen. You could see that on his forehead. Not the first by any means. I mean, you remember back in the day when Strom Thurmond was 168 years old and still in the Senate, and his staff was literally wheeling him in and picking up his hand and clicking the button to do votes when he had no clue what was going on around him.
Yes, because since I was alive in the 80s, I'm old enough to remember Strom Thurmond.
Yeah. And then Dianne Feinstein, and then there were, members of the House. And so we've talked a lot about, especially with Mitch McConnell, we've been pretty objective saying he's not capable
Mm-hmm.
anymore. He's just not. You can agree or disagree with his policies, but is he up to the task anymore because of his physical limitations, because of age?
Right.
Then obviously you get into Joe Biden and all this sort of stuff. So Andy Beshear, who is a likely presidential candidate, a Democratic governor of a red state, honestly, I'll be really candid, he could win. I don't think the Democrats are going to be smart enough to nominate somebody like him. They're going to want to go with the left-wing extremist. But Beshear is a winnable candidate, in my opinion, for the Democrats, one of the few that they actually have. So he makes a point and says, show us that you're capable, or you should step down and resign because you can't do the job anymore. A lot of politics, a lot of partisanship involved in that, but does he have a point?
I think both things can be true. I mean, you have to recognize, you have to look at it through the framework that he is a Democrat and he would appoint McConnell's replacement, which would mean that there would be a Democrat serving in that seat, which would throw off the balance of things in the Senate right now. I mean, it's
for 6 or 7 months.
For 6 or 7 months, and it's close enough as it is, especially with some of the sour grapes caucus and all that. But by the same token, the people of the state of Kentucky are entitled to adequate representation via their representatives and their senators, and one of them is not functioning fully at this point, and it's
Maybe not at all.
It's unclear.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he's issued statements. They've shown pictures of him, but it's not reassuring. There are people who I generally trust who say they've had conversations with him and that sort of thing. But I also understand that there are appearances to keep up. So, you know, no one was expecting Lindsey Graham to leave us.
Right.
That was unexpected. Mitch McConnell, we know he's leaving us at the end of this term. The question is, what do the people of Kentucky deserve? Now, here's the thing. They voted for a Republican senator.
Mm-hmm.
Can you also say, yeah, so they deserve to have a Republican representing them?
Yeah, see, I've heard, I've got mixed feelings on that argument because I think there's a solid logic behind that.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you say they voted for Mitch McConnell and they didn't vote for the party, they voted for the person to be the senator?
That's a fair question.
Yeah.
It might be, well, yeah, he's been a senator for so long, it's hard to say. I mean, obviously there are other senators, Rand Paul.
Right.
They are overall a red state.
Yeah.
Their congressional delegation is far and away Republican. So I don't think it's crazy to say that they prefer a Republican senator.
I mean, it is a very scary thought to think that at this point, I mean, I lived in Kentucky for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I lived in Louisville, but it's still Kentucky. And no,
I actually understand what you mean by that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people like, well, of course, no. That's like Chicago. I mean, that's technically Illinois, but but that's Louisville.
I love Louisville. Don't get me wrong.
I completely
Louisville.
understand what you're saying there.
So don't get me wrong. I mean, I love Kentucky. It's the only other place I'd probably live besides Missouri. But at the same time, I don't think that the people voted for Mitch the man because people were already saying he's too old to be serving. And this was back in 21 when I was living there, right? I think the Kentucky people I keep in contact with that did vote for Mitch, it's like, well, look at the alternative that was running against him.
Now, the other aspect of that is, well, but they did elect a Democratic governor knowing that that's part of the power that you're electing to somebody who's going to be the governor is that's the person who's going to appoint a United States senator if something happens.
Yeah.
So well, in theory, people realize that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 2 or 3 steps, orders of like reasoning that maybe goes beyond people's votes at the ballot box.
So I promised or threatened, however you want look at it. Let's look at New Hampshire. Republican governor. Jean Shaheen, she is 78 years old.
I didn't realize she was that old.
Yeah. Now she seems to be functioning.
I was going to say
just fine.
Yeah.
She's doing, but what happens if she has, a stroke or she has age-related stuff? Would we be reacting the same way, or would we be saying, of course, she needs to resign? The people of New Hampshire deserve 2 senators, and if she can't function, then do it. It doesn't matter that the Republicans. Let's be honest with ourselves. Would we be reacting the same way?
Probably not. Yeah. I mean, people, we're as you point out regularly, we're very tribal. Yeah. So your instinct is to advocate for Republicans to be, appointed or represented, and then the opposite.
I think that's a generational mindset because I'm not the first one to say this, but I came to this conclusion independently, is that a lot of the people that are millennial age and younger, we view this as the nursing home ruling class. That we have too many people that are just way too old, even if they're good politics, just way too old to be in the position that they're in. We need people that can have that same mindset, but can, survive tripping over something in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of, I mean, if you look at even the presidency, regardless of how you feel about, President Trump or President Biden, we had the two oldest presidents in U.S. history back to back.
Yeah.
To back.
Saving grace is the next one, won't be.
Yeah. So that's really where I hear people my uncle's age, people you guys' age, people that are generally have more experience in life. If that's a kind of way.
It's a very diplomatic way.
People that were seasoned by the 80s. That have that mindset of we need to do what's best for the party. The party's got the best interest. Doesn't matter if they're 60 or 70 or 80, as long as they can still show up and press the button to vote and it's still the right vote, then it doesn't matter. I think that that mindset has a cutoff when you get to people that are millennial age, and it's like, well, no, you can't have people being found in nursing homes because they got lost. You can't have people being in the hospital or we didn't even know where Mitch McConnell was until he came out like a week later saying, "Hey, I'm in the hospital."
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to push back on that a little bit.
Okay.
Because
but
I think
there is a logic to what he's saying.
No, I think I think generationally there is going to be a different viewpoint. And I also think the younger people are, the less wedded they are to a political party. The problem is, of course, that you recognize that the way that power works in D.C. requires that party affiliation. And so, losing somebody in a very closely held majority ends up making a big difference. But also, I mean, the person could be incapacitated because they were in an accident. It doesn't have to be because they're elderly. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's
So maybe not nursing home. What would you call it? Like the hospice elite class.
Well, I guess, but my point is, your argument is that there are people in Congress that are too old. I don't disagree with you, but the bigger issue is if the person who's serving in that role becomes unavailable to serve in that role for whatever reason, either it's because of age or because they're, terribly injured in an accident or whatever, should the opposing governor, the governor from the opposing party, do you push for them to replace that person immediately, or I don't know.
Well, I think it comes down to, are they going to make a comeback?
So I'll equate this, I guess. There's a big difference between Joe Biden shaking hands with nobody and then getting lost on stage, and somebody like FDR having to hide the fact he's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm saying, is that, yes, if you cannot control every single medical emergency. I could right now, I mean, Mike got hit by a baseball. He came in. If I get hit by a baseball, I might be out. Right?
I didn't make that point very clearly. I'm saying if the person is no longer able to serve, are you advocating for that quickly? Because your flip test is what I'm trying to get to, and I'm trying to take age out of the equation to do the flip test, is my point.
I think age is still relevant here.
I'm trying to eliminate that variable to see if to give it a true flip test is what I'm trying to do, but it's not working very well.
Well, you can't really flip age. That's one of the ones I would say doesn't work quite as well.
Yeah. I mean, so the bottom line is, and Bashir was careful not to call on him straight up to resign. He said, "Show us you can do the job, or you should."
Mm-hmm.
So the challenge was very quickly something. Video appearance, something, not a still photograph. Yes, it's a partisan move, and it elevates him in the national eye.
But it's also legit.
It's also, I think, a legitimate question. I do think Bashir has a point on this.
I agree. I think it's both. I think it's both. Hey, I don't know if you know this, but the doctor is in a congressional hearing where he'll be asked to explain himself at 7:20. We're going to talk about what we can hope for, if anything, from the upcoming testimony of Anthony Fauci.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Everybody wants me to dance. Could you imagine FDR dancing?
On NewsTalk-STL.
Hey, it's Susie here. You guys have heard me talk about Window World before. Think about it. I mean, how many times in your life are you going to buy windows? Probably not that many. That means when you do go to do that, it's a big purchase, it's a big deal, and you want to make sure it's a quality product, something that you know you can count on, which is why I like Window World. They've got a great product. Their windows are durable, they're secure, they're energy efficient, and they're built with double strength glass that you don't typically see in replacement windows. And with Window World, you're covered with a lifetime warranty. That includes parts, glass breakage, and labor. They don't just do windows either. Window World can also help with your siding, your doors, basically everything on the exterior of your home except for a roof or garage door. Window World's commitment to customer service, that's what really is key here. Unlike a lot of companies, their customer service team is available 7 days a week. And that commitment to customer service shows. Over half of their appointments come from repeat customers or referrals. Plus, they're big in the community. They've raised over $4 million over the years for charities like Action for Autism and St. Jude. Window World's been helping improve the look and energy efficiency of more than 80,000 homes right here in St. Louis, and the St. Louis location has been owned, operated, and managed by born and raised St. Louisans for more than 23 years. Right now, they're offering 36 months same as cash financing with approved credit, so if you've been putting it off, now is a great time to act. Call Window World at 1-800-GET-WINDOWS.
Colombo and Company.
We are less than a week away from the Missouri primaries. Voters will make decisions that will shape the future of the state, and we'll discuss what's at stake Wednesday with our Missouri political insider, Rodney Boyd.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on NewsTalkSTL.
Travis Wilson here, State Representative of District 106 in St. Charles, Missouri's first state capital. As a 31-year resident of St. Charles County, I know the issues that are important to our residents, such as protecting women's sports, stopping harmful procedures on minors, and fighting the woke agenda. As your representative, I know what it takes to bring new opportunities to our community to ensure our children have a brighter future. It's been the honor of a lifetime for my family and me to represent you, and I humbly ask for your vote again on August 4th.
Paid for by Wilson for St. Charles. Merle Schneider, Treasurer.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs. It's a very short guide. Give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying taxes?
I do not.
I don't think anybody likes paying taxes, right? That just makes sense. And then always talking about protection. And then the other thing from a business owner perspective, what is the biggest asset a business owner has? Probably their business itself, right? We need to make sure we understand what the value of that business is as well.
So this new book, I'm sure, is incredibly expensive, right? How much?
No, it's a free resource.
Oh, it's free.
We provide guidance, we provide education because we want to make sure people feel educated and understanding because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and we need to make sure we help arm people with information to ask the right question.
Reach out to Chris and Stacey today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Tim Jones here for Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. They've helped me recover from day-to-day aches and pains for years. And here's something special, personal training programs. Whether you're an athlete committed to increasing performance, recovering from an injury, or just want to get healthier and lose weight, their personal training programs will help you reach your goals and stay there. Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, online at cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk. Live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Vince Colonnese. I'll talk to you tonight at 8, but now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show on News Talk STL.
Okay, so what's the best outcome we can hope for with Anthony Fauci's testimony? Literally scheduled, I don't know if it's going to start on time, but scheduled to start in like 8 minutes, which these things rarely start exactly, on time. There's a lot of hustle and bustle. I'm looking at the video. Fauci is walking down the hallway and into the committee room literally as I speak right now. He just walked in to the hearing room itself. And of course, there's security everywhere, long line of people who are waiting to get into the seats to witness the whole thing, media, journalists everywhere. So there's a lot of buzz in that hallway right now, Susie.
There is.
So the Republicans, they want to sink their teeth into Anthony Fauci. I want them to sink their teeth into him in a big way.
Very deserving.
What is, when I say the best case scenario, I mean, to me, the best case scenario is Anthony Fauci lives a long, healthy life behind bars. I don't think that's going to happen. But what is the best, most impactful outcome that could come from today, realistically speaking, just whether it's politics or otherwise?
Okay, well, those are a couple different kinds of questions because the best outcome I'm hoping for is entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, plenty to write about, plenty to talk about. I'm sorry, I'm being cynical. But from a substantive standpoint, obviously there is the pardon that, while there are questions legitimately raised about its legitimacy covers everything up to the point that it was offered to him, given to him.
Basically a get out of jail free card for anything and everything, blanket pardon.
Pretty much, yeah. Now, could he get himself in hot water today? Absolutely. If he
Explain how he could, because I think a lot of people, there are people who are mistakenly saying, well, he's got a pardon, so he's untouchable. That's not necessarily the case.
That isn't the case.
Right.
The pardon isn't future looking. The pardon is up to what the point that it was issued.
Yep.
He could go rob a bank today. He's not pardoned for that. He can go sit there in front of Congress and tell a lie under oath and be prosecuted for that lie and perjury. Yeah. So that's why I don't think he's going to say a whole lot today. I think he's not going to take the fifth. I don't think. Theoretically, I guess he could, but it would be really weird since he does have the pardon.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's basically saying, I think I'm going to lie if I don't take the fifth.
Yeah, I do not want to tell the truth because me telling the truth would be.
Yeah. So I think what he's going to do is dance around a lot of questions and not really say anything of any substance. And mostly what it's going to be is Rand Paul and others basically, ripping him up one side and down the other. It's going to be a lot of viral clips.
Oh, yeah. We'll have a lot tomorrow of sound bites on that.
I don't think it's likely that we will see Anthony Fauci criminally prosecuted unless he gets up there today and just starts lying. He will be prosecuted for that if he does.
And he's a smart guy. He's been well briefed on what not to do. And he's evil, but he's not dumb.
No, I mean, he's obviously very enamored of himself.
Mm-hmm.
I think the justice for Anthony Fauci is going to come in the afterlife. But as far as on this plane, the bottom line is he's obviously very egotistical, and his reputation is going to continue to be completely trashed, because I don't think he can escape the ugliness of what he was involved with.
Okay, so Rand Paul is talking to reporters right now. Can we pull this up real quick? Here's what Rand Paul is saying, literally as we speak.
I think the American people would be very disappointed if that happens. Somebody works for 40 years for government. I think they have an obligation to explain to Americans, how was the decision made? Who made the decision? Why was the decision made to fund dangerous research in Wuhan, China? It was in a lower level security lab, a lab that didn't have adequate security. These were dangerous experiments. A lot of people think this began with COVID. It began 10 years before. It began with the question of whether we should allow experiments to gain function to the avian flu. People talk about the avian flu. 10 years ago, they made it more transmissible through the air to mammals through an NIH-approved funding that Dr. Fauci supported. This is a big discussion that needs to occur.
All right, so that was Rand Paul just talking to reporters as he's now heading into the hearing room himself.
Yeah, my assumption is that the question he was asked is, do you think that Dr. Fauci is going to take the fifth or refuse to answer questions? And he was saying, I hope he doesn't. I hope he actually will answer things. I think if he says anything substantive, he's going to be very, very careful about what he says, because he's full on aware that he will be he ain't going to get a pardon from Donald Trump.
No.
So, the one that he has, the one that he apparently begged for, assuming that it cannot be, voided because it was signed by the auto pen, which I don't hold out a whole lot of hope for.
No, I don't hold out any hope that pardon.
He's going to be very cagey, and it's going to be maddening, but there are going to be a lot of viral clips from today.
Yeah, because Rand Paul's making it pretty clear, both covertly and overtly, I've got the receipts.
Not only that, I want to point this out. I've had several people bring up this, like, oh, why is his diary coming out now? Why are they getting into his personal private? This is stuff that he wrote on government equipment.
Mm-hmm.
This is not like his little locked diary at home that he wrote in, with his purple pen. This is literally stuff that he typed while he was employed by the government on government systems.
It's what you call work product.
It is. So it belongs to his former employer, which would be us, the government. So that's what's been released.
Okay, so just to be clear, RFK Jr. did not sneak in there and steal his diary from underneath his pillow. This was something that could easily be subpoenaed for an investigation.
They had, as the head of HHS, they had access to his work product, which was on government computers. So, yeah. And some of that was, I just met in a skiff with a CIA agent or representative who was telling me about the origins, and they gave me all this classified information, and he's writing about it. Okay. I think that might be problematic too. There's going to be a lot of very pointed questions kind of surrounding the information that's come out in these diary journal entries. So it's going to be very entertaining in a dark way, because when you think about the impact of this one person.
Yeah, and what so many people are going to do, I think what you're going to start to see is a counter-narrative offensive. But he was doing the best he could to protect us from this horrifically deadly virus that half the people who had didn't even know they had. We had to test to tell you whether or not you were sick. So we locked down. We destroyed education for 2 years for people. We shut down millions of jobs. We ran the country into dish. All of these things.
We kept people from being with their loved ones when they were dying.
I was kept from viewing some of my loved ones when they died.
Yes. And I mean, literally preventative screening, medical procedures were not allowed to happen because they were not emergency. I had I had to have a heart surgery that because I had that what was called SVT, nothing super major, but and they had to fight and kick and scratch like crazy because it wasn't considered emergency, literally a heart issue. And I'm fine now because it was just a simple cauterization. But this was at that time, and they kept saying, well, it's not considered. Dialysis, screenings. There were people who did not catch cancers early enough because offices were shut down unless it was emergency. Following this man and following the CDC should remind us why we should never, ever blindly follow anyone from government ever, ever again. I don't care if they proclaim themselves to be the experts.
And I think it also revealed when we hear about fascism, this, fascism, that, how many snitch lines were set up to snitch on people? How
St.
many
Louis
people,
County did it like crazy.
Because in my area, people were harassing you if you didn't wear the stupid mask right. I mean, this collectivist ideology, full display for those years, and look at what it's done. All the irreversible damage that it's done to our culture, to our society, and to our youth. It's unacceptable.
Preach.
Now, this is about the time because it's Bump Day, that I would call for your 80s themed bump music request. People are asking what the theme is. Send me the songs you wish would be played because Jerome's going to be away, so they're not going to be. I will not be here Friday. The show is in very good hands, very capable hands, but we've got to figure out what we're going to feed y'all. So if you send me some stuff, I can get it in there good, but don't get mad.
Don't wait till Thursday. Send them in today.
Send them in today.
That's a better one. Send them in today.
Your better
bet.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't get played, womp womp.
That's great marketing there, dude.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking temperatures back towards the upper 80s today. Going to be looking at sunnier skies across much of the area. Could see some upper level wildfire smoke. Not going to be an issue near the surface. As we look off into Thursday, temperatures back towards the upper 80s. Once again, mostly sunny skies. Big changeover is going to be Friday morning. Scattered showers and storms that'll be staying with us off and on as we head off into Saturday as well. And things are looking to dry up this week and temperatures back towards the lower 80s. For the first alert for Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit Vincent'sJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on News Talk STL.
Brother, can you spare a dime? That's my view of the DNC, the Democrat National Committee. It has $16 million in cash to help candidates in the midterm election. But, and this is a big but, while it has $16 million, it's also $18 million in debt. The DNC just put its party headquarters up as collateral to get a $2 million loan and is asking vendors, please don't send us any bills until after the elections. So if the DNC loses many, if not most of those elections, do you think the vendors will be paid? Do you believe in the tooth fairy? The standard practice for broadcast operations, political candidates have to pay up front for any commercials they want to air. Because if the candidates lose, just try finding them. Broadcast companies do not believe in the tooth fairy. Keep in mind one reason the DNC is maybe not getting a lot of Democrat donor money, because many of them don't support having Democrat socialists in the party. They're against it. So, in the near future, you might see the DNC on street corners begging, brother, can you spare a dime?
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL. Tuesday night.
Missouri decides 2026.
All the results and reactions from the Missouri State Primary.
You have to get out and vote.
From the voices you know and trust in St. Louis for election night coverage.
Amendment 4.
Amendment 5.
County executives.
Coverage begins Tuesday night at 7 on St. Louis's conservative voice.
Right here.
News Talk STL. Brought to you by Fast Signs in Bridgeton, 21 Recycling in House Springs, Gemini Wealth Group, and Freddie's Market. JC's Wayback Machine.
Saturday is the 45th anniversary of the debut of MTV. We'll reminisce with VJ Kennedy. And this week in 1994, it was the first in a series of outdoor concerts at Busch Stadium, and you'll hear the only known recording of the first two songs that night with Billy Joel and Elton John. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9. On News Talk STL.
Public schools, like public libraries, should be free and open to all. Open enrollment allows parents to choose the school that's the best fit for their children. Maybe another school has a wider curriculum, is bigger or smaller. Maybe a kid is being bullied and would be more comfortable at another school. 75% of parents favor open enrollment. Open enrollment programs now exist in 43 states, and Missouri should join them. Our next-door neighbor, Kansas, has one of the strongest open enrollment policies in the nation. Kansas parents are trusted with choices and options, while Missouri parents must move out of their home to change public schools. And it's a trend. Nationwide, the percentage of students going to their chosen public school has steadily increased. Assigning kids to schools based on their zip code is the old way. Open enrollment is a better way. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Conservative talk for St. Louis.
It's your patriotic right and duty.
The government needs to step up and do its job.
This is News Talk STL.
It's well-balanced conversation.
News, analysis, opinion.
I love that you're starting your day off right with Mike Ferguson in the morning. It's your boy Joe Pags. Talk to you tonight. But now let's get back to Mike.
All right, socialists, pardon me, democratic socialists, sounds better when you say it that way. They're having a moment, no question. They are having a moment right now. Is that moment about to run out? We're going to get to that question here in just a minute. We've got Stacey Matthews. You would know her better. As Sister told you, from a certain RedState.com. With us right now. I want to get to that in just a moment here regarding this DSA Frontrunners Revisionist Act falls apart story here in just a minute, Stacey. But let me start. You got Rand Paul grilling Anthony Fauci at the moment here. Your recent article, The Fauci Diaries and the Power of Sunlight. This is some of the more damning evidence, not even just about decisions that were made, but about the mindset, this sort of pseudo, I am a godlike mindset that Anthony Fauci basically grew into and basically absorbed while he was at the pinnacle of his power. And some would argue that at one point he may have been one of the most powerful policymakers, and he wasn't elected to anything. And you had states and local governments just waiting for him and, Department of Health and all these other things to tell us how to live and how to not live. And a lot of this came from Anthony Fauci. So let's start there. Fauci diaries and the power of sunlight. What do we know about those diaries, and why is the sunlight so important?
Well, I think, we would all agree that it was always obvious that Fauci was an egomaniac who enjoyed the adulation he got from the media and the Democrat Party, much in the same way Andrew Cuomo did when he was governor. There was literally nothing either one of them could have done wrong in the eyes of their hero worshipers. But I think what the diaries have done is they've shown an even brighter light on what this type of hero worship and mindless idolization can do to a powerful person when it's left unchecked. For Fauci, it made him feel invincible. And in his view, probably, it seemingly proved that he was right, quote unquote, about everything. And the bonus for Fauci was that the corporate media was eating everything he said right out of his hand, like we saw with Jake Tapper, and some of the others and some of those emails. And I think, honestly, what the hearings are going to do, even if, at the end of the day, we don't see indictments, prosecutions, whatever, I think what we're going to see play out today, Mike, is that with Fauci, obviously, his reputation is the most important thing to him, and any chinks that can put in it are probably the biggest punishment, his reputation and his ego. When you can put a chink in that armor, that's probably one of the best punishments you can get for him, and that's what's probably going to play out today with Rand Paul in the hearings.
Stacey, let's talk about the media handling of this just for a minute. Obviously, that's something that we cover a lot at RedState, and you cover in particular. Not only did we have media falling all over themselves to worship at the feet of St. Fauci, but with Joe Biden, there was a little distance after he left office, and suddenly people like Jake Tapper and other high-profile media figures were sort of going, well, yeah, we kind of know. They were kind of backtracking. They were kind of revising their approach to things. Do you think we're going to see any revisionist history from the media, the mainstream media, with regard to Anthony Fauci, or are they just going to dig in or just ignore it altogether?
I think it's going to be they're either going to dig in or they're going to ignore it. I mean, so far we've had 2 days of revelations about the emails that have come out. I think they came out Monday, and you've seen scant to no coverage from the press so far. And this was the same press who tripped all over themselves to cover Fauci and cover for Fauci during his time, when he was working with Trump through COVID the first year, and then the 2 years he was with Joe Biden. So I think you're going to see a mixture from the media. It's either going to be digging in or there's going to be ignoring, and there's not going to be any apologetics, going with this, because at the end of the day, the media are still going to think what they think about Fauci. This is not a thing like where it was with Joe Biden, where Biden had an obvious health issue that was hindering his ability to fully function as the president of the United States. This is a little different. This was Fauci's ego that kind of ruled the day, and the media fed into that ego, and they were part of the problem. They helped drive the narratives that drove policy making and decision making about health for the first 3 years of COVID. And, this makes them look just as bad as it makes Fauci look. So they're going to be in defensive mode. They're going to be either ignoring it or, like I said, they're going to dig in and say, we were just reporting, what we knew, which we all know is a hot load.
Mm-hmm. Stacey, why does this matter? I mean, why does it matter that Rand Paul or other Republicans, or I would love to see a Democrat or two jump in there, but I'm not going to hold out my hope. Why does it matter that his narrative get exposed and sliced to pieces? Why does that matter other than vengeance and to take out his ego? Is there a bigger purpose?
I think there is a bigger purpose, Mike, and you talked about it. I was listening to you guys before I came on. I think it's important to learn for the future so we don't make these mistakes in the future, that we never, again, as you said, we never just take, at someone's word, that I'm the person you need to listen to on this. I'm the expert. That's one of the most damaging things that the COVID pandemic did to America is it crushed the ability to be able to put a reasonable amount of trust into what our government officials were saying. That you always want to view what the government says with skepticism and questions, but you need to have a reasonable amount of trust when something like this happens, and it just destroyed the ability to do that. And I think, exposing Fauci as the egomaniac as he was, is going to help us. There's many things, many lessons that need to be learned from what happened during COVID. But probably one of the biggest is that you don't put your trust into one single person, entity, organization, group. You have to pull in all viewpoints and listen and hope that they make the right call. But ultimately, at the end of the day, this is about learning lessons. It's not just about revenge. It's about accountability and learning lessons. So, and God forbid, if we have a future pandemic, we won't make the same mistakes.
Yeah. Well, and it's speaking of taking in all different viewpoints, obviously the DSA is having its day in the sun. And we may not be paying super close attention to the Wisconsin gubernatorial race here in Missouri or there in North Carolina where you are. But there is some interesting developments in that race that kind of surround, who is and who isn't part of the DSA and what they really stand for. Tell us a little bit what's going on with that one.
Well, the Wisconsin gubernatorial race has gotten very interesting in the last few weeks. And the thing that's interesting to us that are outside of Wisconsin is that it's just a microcosm of the battle that's going on within the Democrat Party over, who is going to run it in the future. Is it going to be the establishment, or is the DSA wing of the party going to take over? And in Wisconsin, you have multiple candidates, and the leading candidates were their lieutenant governor, who is the establishment pick, and Francesca Hong, who is a state representative, who is backed by the local DSA chapters. And Sarah Rodriguez, who was the lieutenant governor, she ended up dropping out in the last couple of weeks due to a campaign finance scandal, finance reporting disaster where donations were overcounted, making it look like she had more money than she had. And it was such a disaster for her that she ended up dropping out. She didn't want to be a distraction in the race. But Francesca Hong, who's the DSA-backed candidate, has basically been leading this entire race. And now she's got momentum going into the primary next month. And the Democrat establishment brought in a gentleman named David Crowley, who was a Milwaukee County executive. And he had dropped out like a week before Rodriguez dropped out and endorsed her. So now he's back in the game because the establishment are terrified that Hong is going to win the gubernatorial nomination and then lose in the general election to Tom Tiffany, who is a congressman. He's the presumptive GOP nominee that's backed by Trump. So it's kind of been interesting, the way that things have played out there. And again, it provides kind of a window into the battle we're seeing between the establishment and the DSA. And, ultimately, like a state like Wisconsin isn't like New York, where a DSA candidate statewide would have a better chance of winning. Wisconsin is kind of middle of the road. It's purple. It's, as some of our readers and our writers would say, it's purplish. So there's not a guarantee that if Hong were to win the nomination, she would go on to win the governor's race. But yeah, it's been kind of interesting to see. It's just been, the last 3 weeks have been very chaotic in that race, and it is something we need to pay attention to and see ultimately what happens if she wins the nomination, and what happens if does she go all the way, or do the Wisconsin voters kind of see the light of day and say, nope, you're not going any further.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the drama is interesting, but it's what's the canary in the coal mine for the rest of the country, especially the Rust Belt, the upper Midwest that Wisconsin is near. I wouldn't call Wisconsin Rust Belt, but they're close enough to it geographically. All right, that article is DSA Frontrunners Revisionist Act Falls Apart After Wisconsin Governor GOP Candidate Drops the Receipts. RedState.com. And, of course, you can also see Sister Tolja's article, The Fauci Diaries and the Power of Sunlight, all of it at RedState.com. Stacey, as always, great chatting with you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Stace. Hey, y'all, I want you to remember that tonight there's another big event going on, the St. Louis County Executive Candidates Forum, tonight at 7 p.m. It's at the St. Louis County Republican Central Committee headquarters on Gravois Bluffs. Dennis Hancock, Angela Mosley, Brian Williams, and Jake Zimmerman Zimmerman have all been invited to attend the forum, and it's going to be hosted by our very own Chris Arps. If you want more information, call 314-398-6667. All St. Louis voters are encouraged to attend.
News Talk STL is celebrating our 5th birthday. And we're giving away a limited edition News Talk STL America 250 t-shirts. It's exclusive, it's collectible, and it could be yours. Just head to NewsTalkSTL.com to register.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, News Talk.
Been listening since day one.
Happy birthday to my talk station.
5 years, happy birthday.
News Talk STL.
News Talk STL. Happy birthday to us, and good luck to you.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stegall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
Have you heard those ads claiming Amendment 4 stops conservative amendments?
That's not true. It actually stops a couple big cities from pushing radical ideas into our Constitution. Remember 2024? Only 8 out of 114 counties voted to allow transgender surgeries on children.
That's terrifying. We can't let just a handful of counties rule the whole state.
Exactly. Amendment 4 requires broad statewide support and keeps foreign money out of our elections. Vote yes on 4 this August 4th.
Paid for by Freedom Principle MO, Missouri First PAC. Kate Sickles, Treasurer.
Oh, Adam, you are so romantic. And I love the kitchen you found with all these great crumbs.
Yeah, baby. Only the finest crumbs in the kitchen for my favorite aunt. Oh, no. It's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
The Mike Ferguson Show is one of my favorite programs. In addition to Larry Connors USA, catch my program at 6. Now, back to Mike.
Because somebody mentioned the name Crowley.
No, this said in honor of Fauci, you should play Diary of a Madman.
Diary of a Madman. There it is.
So
okay.
you ask, and sometimes you shall receive.
There you go. That actually makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And by the way, the Democratic ranking member is Senator Gary Peters out of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were listening to his, they're in the opening statements parts of all this.
Correct.
The grandstanding part of all this. And while basically Rand Paul dropped, here is what we know, here are the receipts, here's what you're going to have to answer to. Gary Peters, the Democratic ranking member, is, instead of defending Anthony Fauci, he's going after Rand Paul and the way that he's doing the
Conducting the
investigation.
hearing.
Yeah.
But even so, he's at least like a sane human being. He's a partisan human being, but he's leaving Congress and he's going to be replaced by whoever Michigan elects, and it better not be Abdul Al-Sayed is all I have to say.
Yeah. All right, 7:52 right now. An iconic St. Louis brand is leaving St. Louis. And a governor says Mitch McConnell should prove that he can still serve or step down. And the Cardinals, that was embarrassing last night. That was embarrassing last night. All right, let's go and do another news dump.
The Morning News Dump, brought to you by Mario's Donut Restaurant.
The Morning News Dump. Are you joking? Is this a joke? Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
A national brand born in St. Louis is leaving the Louvre. Formerly known as St. Louis Bread Co., Panera confirms that it's moving its corporate headquarters to the Boston area next year. Some support operations are going to remain in the area, but hundreds of corporate jobs are expected to be affected. The first Breadco opened in Kirkwood in 1987. The chain was purchased in 1993, and they are now owned after further acquisitions by the parent company that also owns Einstein Brothers Bagels and Caribou Coffee. So the bottom line is St. Louis Breadco, there's 2 or 3, I think, that are still under that name.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not going to be too long to where it's just the national Panera thing.
Right.
And it's not going to have much of an attention. I actually like Breadco. I like Panera. I like their food. I like that. All right. Senator Lindsey Graham honored with his funeral service at the National Cathedral in Washington on Tuesday. Among those who were speaking was President Trump, describing what he thought Graham's finest hour was regarding an appointment to the U.S. Supreme Court.
His impassioned defense of a wonderful person, a great gentleman, Justice Kavanaugh, ended a disgraceful attack on this very good man and gave us one of the greatest moments the Senate has ever seen.
Lindsey Graham was 71 years old when he died earlier this month of an aortic dissection. All right.
Will always be my favorite Lindsey Graham moment.
Yeah, that was I
still remember sitting in my office watching it and being like, yes.
Yeah, that shook up.
It probably got Kavanaugh across the line.
I think it did. Without question, I think that it did. All right, let's see here. Following up that conversation we just had with Sister Told You, Stacey Matthews, the new wave of left-wing Democrats, socialist Democrats stepping into the spotlight ahead of these midterm elections, the Democratic Socialist of America, who are backing the most fringe of those candidates and putting them into positions to win in a lot of places. They're sharing their new framework, plans to abolish ICE, get rid of the U.S. Senate, get rid of the U.S. Supreme Court. Ted Cruz was asked about that last night on Hannity.
You make the Supreme Court subservient to the Politburo, you know what goes away? Your constitutional rights. No. Free speech, religious liberty, the Second Amendment, all out the window.
And that's what happens if you get the populist type of government as opposed to a republic as well. So Cruz is dead on that. Mm-hmm. I know it was a surprise. Ted Cruz was on Fox. Yeah imagine that. So, all right, let's see here. The minivan making a comeback, according to industry research cited by CNN. Minivan sales went up 21% in 2025. They are not uncool anymore, apparently.
Or they're just practical.
They're very that's a word that was used a lot in the research because a key driving force behind the surge, millennials, who are now in their 30s and early 40s. The most popular minivan in the U.S. last year was the Toyota Sienna. You got any millennial friends who are driving minivans?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's also convenient when you have multiple people you want to hang out with. You guys can just hop in the van and go for a cruise for way more than it's worth, but still.
Yeah, and minivans are less expensive than SUVs for the most part.
Yes,
that's
more
where you're
spacious.
at. Yeah, without a doubt. All right, the Cardinals are now below 500 on the season. This is getting ugly, this last 10, 12 games or so. That's after last night's embarrassing 10-2 loss to the Cubs at Busch Stadium. The third game of the 4-game series is tonight. That starts at 6:45. Dustin May is going to throw that first pitch because he's starting on the mound for the Redbirds. Redbirds are now 14 games back in the division. They have lost 8 of their last 10 games. They are also falling out of the wild card race as well. They are only 1 1/2 game out of last place in the National League Central. And the Pirates, who are in last place, are just god-awful this year. So the Cardinals are not in a good spot. Not in a good spot at all.
The radical left let crime and drugs pour into our nation, and they let biological men into girls' sports. But here in Missouri, if there's a problem, we fix it. That's why Ann Wagner's fixing the mess the radical left made and delivering for us. Wagner voted to ban biological men from competing in girls' sports, and she voted to fund the police and provide more resources for Border Patrol agents, keeping our families, communities, and children safe. And Ann Wagner didn't stop there. In Congress, Wagner passed the largest working-class tax cut in American history, kept big government out of our business, protected our way of life, and ensured our communities remain safe. That's why Ann Wagner's endorsed by the Missouri Farm Bureau and Missouri Fraternal Order of Police. Vote Ann Wagner for Congress on August 4th.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
It's time to tee off at Sugar Creek Golf Course in High Ridge. Experience one of Jefferson County's premier courses, nestled among picturesque rolling hills. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, you'll love the lush fairways, challenging holes, and friendly atmosphere. Make your next round unforgettable at Sugar Creek Golf Course. Open to the public, but you can also become a member. Just log on to sugarcreekgolfcourse.com for more information and tee times. sugarcreekgolfcourse.com.
Bill, you're an old politician.
Yup, sure am.
So you know the old-timers warned that someone trying to sell you a pig in a poke was a con man.
Well, sure.
Well, no offense, Tom, but your politician's Amendment 5 is a pig in a poke, allowing politicians to raise our taxes without a vote of the people, and the politician's Amendment 4 takes away our power to do anything about it. Well, let's look at what's really inside Forward 5.
Oh, don't do that.
5 hits hardest seniors and those struggling financially with new taxes on services like doctor visits, in-home care, and rent. Sales taxes could more than triple. For up to 80% of Missourians, it's a tax hike. And Amendment 4 ends majority rule, allowing a minority of the most liberal statewide voters in one district to effectively end our power to stop corruption and out-of-control spending and taxing.
Slick plan, huh?
No, Tom. 4 and 5 are schemes that hurt citizens and transfer our power and our money to politicians and lobbyists. That's why I'm voting no on the politicians' Amendments 4 and 5.
Paid for by Missourians for fair taxation.
I am an atheist. I really am a liberal, but I'm also a conservative.
No matter your side.
I'm a Democrat. I'm just a bit angry, frustrated conservative.
No matter your inclination.
I'm probably a liberal, maybe more in the middle.
We're here for your place to talk about it.
I'm the progressive liberal Democrat that you said is afraid to call you.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
And I'm sure we'll have a robust conversation.
News Talk STL.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Dr. Anthony Fauci back in the limelight this morning. Key figure in America's COVID response. Fauci testifying before a Senate panel, but apparently he will not be saying much of anything. According to his prepared remarks, Fauci will be invoking the Fifth Amendment, declining to testify in the GOP-led COVID-19 hearing. The deadline has passed for the Trump administration to ask the Supreme Court to take a second look at its birthright citizenship ruling.
The Trump administration had until Tuesday to ask the U.S. Supreme Court to reconsider its June decision, which struck down President Donald Trump's executive order to deny automatic citizenship to children born in the U.S. whose parents are in the country temporarily or illegally. Trump had promised to push for a rehearing shortly after the high court handed him his loss. The White House has not responded to messages seeking comment. Donna Warder, Washington.
Kentucky's Democrat Governor Andy Beshear calling on ailing Republican Senator Mitch McConnell to be transparent with his constituents or step down.
McConnell was hospitalized June 14th, his office revealing weeks later that it was due to a fall. Beshear made the demand in a letter after the Office of the Attending Physician said McConnell had been discharged from hospital care but remains in a rehabilitation facility and has not yet been medically cleared to return to work. McConnell released a statement saying he hates to miss the fun but will not be attending this Saturday's Fancy Farm Picnic. It's an annual event that draws political figures to Western Kentucky. Beshear called on McConnell to address the people of Kentucky verbally and provide proof of his capacity. The governor's also asking Senate Majority Leader John Thune to investigate McConnell's condition. I'm Jennifer King.
The Saudis say they have shot down a number of Iranian drones, the U.S. and Saudi Arabia retaliating by attacking Iranian proxies in Iraq. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds and you're overweight. Winner, winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you gotta call Big Lou, because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds too. Get a quote right now at 800-555-2085, 800-555-2085, or biglou.com.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Meteorologist Ian Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking temperatures back towards the upper 80s today. Going to be looking at sunnier skies across much of the area. Could see some upper level wildfire smoke. Not going to be an issue near the surface. As we look off into Thursday, temperatures back towards the upper 80s. Once again, mostly sunny skies. Big changeover is going to be Friday morning. Scattered showers and storms. That'll be staying with us off and on as we head off into Saturday as well. And things are looking to dry up this week and temperatures back towards the lower 80s. For the first alert for Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
When you count on Connor, you're getting the timeless American values that have guided our company from day one. Hard work, impeccable service, and honesty. Connor Roofing, you aren't just getting a roof, you're getting safeguarded by a neighbor who cares. When you count on Connor, you're receiving protection for your home, your family, and your peace of mind.
Visit ConnorRoofing.com.
When decisions matter most, experience isn't optional. As a former SWAT commander, Tim Whitney has led Under Pressure. Today, as Undersheriff and Chief Financial Officer, he helps lead hundreds of employees, manages one of the county's largest budgets, and protects taxpayers with conservative accountability.
I'm Tim Whitney, and I'd be honored to earn your vote. Together, we can support responsible growth, strengthen public safety, protect taxpayers, and preserve the character that makes Jefferson County home.
Paid for by friends of Tim Whitney. Heather Missy, Treasurer.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
I think we all know that Big Pharma has been taking advantage of us and will take advantage of us. Well, not on J.D. Hayworth's watch. The former U.S. Congressman will be with us Wednesday at 10:41.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Are you being intentionally dense?
Huh? Susie Moore.
Have you ever been mistaken for a man?
No. Have you?
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
We're a different kind of clown show.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! This is your cousin.
Breaking news on News Talk STL.
Unquote. Any reasonable person who has followed his unhinged obsession with me would readily come to the same conclusion. Therefore, although it pains me to do so, because of the respect I have for the legislative branch of government and my decades-long record of cooperating with Congress, under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions. Thank you.
All right, that's Anthony Fauci, who's being questioned right now by Rand Paul at the Senate Homeland Security Committee, pleading the Fifth, essentially invoking the Fifth, I think is a better term. Jerome, let's go live to the Capitol.
Something you don't usually see in a scientific debate. This is the first time I've ever seen an article printed in Lancet by your friends who called this a conspiracy theory. You know, these are the kind of things you see as a screed on a political, website. You don't really see this in science. But when they release this as being a conspiracy theory, we're wondering that when you do this, when you combine these viruses and are able to grow them in humanized cells, whether or not this kind of risky research, whether you call it gain of function or not, whether you use the definition of gain of function, whether this kind of research should have had more scrutiny. I think in your House testimony, you testified that you never traveled to China and that you were unaware that anybody at NIH ever examined the labs, that you trusted the Chinese scientists. I think you said that even recently, that with your discretion, you trusted the Chinese scientists. The problem is that even in our country, we trust our scientists. They're good American scientists, probably doing the right thing for America. But at the same time, we oversight to make sure it's not dangerous research, but we also investigate the lab. I believe Fort Detrick was one of our main labs was closed down in the last year or two because of, research institute, a research incident that was dangerous with dangerous pathogens. And so the American people would want to know, how could you approve this dangerous research in China, say that you trusted the Chinese scientists, and then in the end, you had to admit that you'd never been there, and none of your inspectors had ever been there? Dr. Fauci, had any of the labs where this dangerous research was occurring, were any American lab oversight or lab investigators, did they ever appear in these labs to make sure that they were safe labs?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
So one of the main theories for those who have looked at this being created in the lab was the idea that could have come from a virus not previously published. Dr. Fauci, are you aware that Dr. Shi, who worked for the Wuhan Institute of Virology, was said to, and I think in her own words, to have over 100 viruses that had not been previously published that could have been a close enough relative to create COVID-19? Are you aware of that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Under your testimony previously, when you denied ever having funded gain of function in China, it was so adamant as to be striking, to leave no room for any interpretation of what is or isn't gain of function research. But there's another important question. Did you fund gain of function research in other biolabs around the world?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
The one research project that we do know you did fund is the one that Ron Fouchier did. And it's important to talk about because this sort of was the beginning of the debate over gain of function. And this wasn't just me. I wasn't even aware of the debate 10 years ago. This was other scientists. Over 200 scientists at the Cambridge Working Group signed a protest because they didn't think you should fund the research, and they didn't think it should even be published because it was sort of a roadmap as to how to make a bioweapon. So what they did was the avian flu, and this is important. It may be the most important question we get to here today. The avian flu has about 50% mortality for humans. The good news, though, about animal viruses is they don't infect humans very well. It will infect humans, but doesn't go human to human very well. Ron Fouchier, with the money that you provided to him, did an experiment where he caused purposeful mutations to create a new virus, an avian flu that didn't just infect birds well, but actually infected mammals well, went ferret to ferret in an aerosolized manner. People saw this and were aghast, at the decision-making process that you decided to fund this. But this is when, the debate came about, and you wrote in support of this in the Washington Post, and you said, even if a scientist is bitten, even if a pandemic should occur, the knowledge is worth the risks. Do you still stand by that? Would you like to qualify at all whether or not the knowledge of gain of function is worth the risks, particularly in this case, since we now know 15 million people died worldwide? Many people believe this came from the lab. Do you think that the risks really are worth the benefits for gain of function research?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
All right. We're going to finish with this question, and it's based really on that statement, that general statement in your support for gain of function, the idea that the benefits outweigh the risks. So there are many other people who disagree, and they aren't politicians or not. I don't know what party they're in. David Relman is probably one of the most esteemed, and he is a scientist at Stanford. He, I think, has classified clearance. He's been a consultant to our government probably for a decade or more. And he's written about this publicly. He says the opposite. He said that the risks of this research do not outweigh the benefits. He said the risks, we shouldn't do it. Richard E. Bright, who's been involved in this debate for 2 decades, says the same thing. Says we really shouldn't be doing this at all. There's a quote also by If the Kevin Esfelt quote is that at the very end. Kevin Esfelt, who's a CRISPR scientist at MIT, also wrote about this gain of function. I implore every scientist, funder, and nation working in the field, please stop. No more trying to discover or make pandemic-capable viruses. No more experiments likely to disseminate blueprints for plagues. Dr. Fauci, would you like to at least answer this one question for us today and let us know whether or not you've changed your mind on whether or not the benefits of gain-of-function research outweigh the risks?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
And the look on Anthony Fauci's face with each of these questions that Senator Rand Paul is asking him as we speak right now in the Senate Homeland Security Committee. I mean, never met Anthony Fauci personally, but the look on his face, Jerome, appears to be somebody who's angry and a defeated man. Every time he says, I plead the Fifth, I invoke the Fifth Amendment to these very pointed questions with the receipts, shows that Anthony Fauci knows he's being exposed for who and what he really is.
When a man with a pardon is pleading the Fifth, that should tell you mountains. That should tell you everything and more than you would ever need to know with these questions and how they're being answered right now.
Okay, so those hearings are happening right now in Washington, D.C. Senator Rand Paul wrapping up his questioning right now, and then it's going to go to other senators. Anthony Fauci, once again, making it very clear, in case you've just heard it, he is going to answer everything by invoking the Fifth Amendment. He is pleading the Fifth, and he will not answer any questions about his role, not only in the COVID-19 virus, but in also the destruction that he helped lead throughout years, two and a half, almost 3 years in this country. So he is simply not going to answer the questions or pointed right at him. We will be monitoring this. Coming up here in just a moment, another event last night looking at the ballot measures Missourians are going to be voting on. Our friend Camellia Peterson from Americans for Prosperity is here, and we'll get the rundown, not just on what happened, but where do we go from here on 119-94.1 News Talk STL.
Inspiration, you have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
The people know the truth.
On News Talk STL.
I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to you.
Ran into somebody I haven't talked to in a little while, and the comment that he said was, man, how much weight have you lost? And I said, well, it's not so much about the weight because I've been working out. I don't know that I have lost, 35, 40 pounds. I said, but I probably weigh a little more than you think because I've been getting stronger. And he said, you're just working out hard. Well, yeah, but here's the thing is I visit with my friends at Nutrition Stop, but also every once in a while, you can take a break and you can enjoy life. Okay? That's why when I decide to do that, I have my treat. It's Mario's Donuts. Matter of fact, today here at News Talk STL, we're hoping it's Mario's Donuts Day. See, we have a tradition. Our boss, Jeff, his wife, Teresa, sometimes brings us in Mario's on the way in when she comes in to help out today. I'm really hoping it's Mario's Donuts because there is a massive, massive, massive difference. And yes, you can have a treat and still be just fine and healthy. And by the way, they've got healthy food there too. You can get your breakfast sandwich. You can get your eggs. They've got really good coffee. Check them out on Mugi Road. Nice big coffee shop. This is a great place to have a meeting with your coworkers or meet up with your friends. Just hang out because there's a lot of space. And definitely check out that wall that memorializes and honors the veterans from the St. Louis area, kind of in the back of the restaurant there. Mario's Donut Restaurant.com, and you can see their entire menu right there on the website. But go check them out. Fun place. Enrique does a great job with that. And oh my goodness, those donuts. You will never want one of those horrible gas station donuts ever again after you experience Mario's Donut Restaurant. You don't think I'm right? Go try it for yourself and then admit to me that, yeah, Mike, there's a difference. Mario's Donut Restaurant.com.
When Donald Trump needs conservative votes to help pass his agenda for Missouri, Representative Trisha Burns never answers the call. Trisha Burns has missed 370 votes. Burns is bucking President Trump's priorities. Burns did not vote to stop DEI initiatives, prevent China from owning Missouri land, defund Planned Parenthood, and Burns did not vote to ban boys from girls' sports. Trisha Burns not showing up for Missouri and President Trump. Instead, Trisha Burns spends her time pulling pranks on the suicide prevention hotline. Yes, you heard that right. Trisha Burns lied to the police and staged a fake suicide emergency. She sent a series of messages to the hotline and said she, quote, had a gun to her head, end quote. When she got caught, she said there'd be no consequences because she's a politician. By August 4th, vote to show Trisha Burns that there are consequences to being bad at your job.
Let's Go Brandon PAC paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. Chris Foss, Treasurer.
License number GL250000615.
You're cooking dinner. The lights go out. You flip the breaker and forget about it.
But what if it keeps tripping?
Trips once, your breaker's doing its job. Keeps tripping? That's a warning. Bad wiring or something worse.
Do people just keep flipping it?
Most do, until they can't anymore.
Call Grasser. We'll stop the trip.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Summer's here, and so is the freshest produce in town. At Anthony's Produce, we specialize in locally grown fruits and vegetables, straight from the farm to your table. Homegrown tomatoes, sweet corn, juicy cantaloupe, watermelon, and peaches, just to name a few. Plus, thousands of locally made products you won't find anywhere else. Need a fruit or vegetable tray for your next gathering? We've got you covered. Anthony's Produce on Jungerman Road or at anthonysproduce.com. Open 7 days a week.
Thanks for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Radio news junkie. Love every bit about it.
News Talk STL.
Larry Connors here. I begin my morning every day with the Mike Ferguson Morning Show while I'm doing my 10-mile run. Catch my program at 6. Now, back to Mike.
And Larry just commented on Rumble. He goes, in that series of cuts, he's talking about us playing that live stream of the hearing. Did I hear Fauci at one time refuse to answer based, well, he said he meant the Fifth Amendment. Yeah, that's all he did. Yep, Larry's
all he did
is all over it right there. 8:20 right now. There was another, we've been talking about this. There was another event last night, a town hall meeting that was talking about Amendments 4, Amendments 5. Now, these are two separate things. Keep that in mind. There just happens to be a lot of interest in it. And among the co-sponsors of it was our friends at Americans for Prosperity, Camellia Peterson, in town for that, joins us right now. Appreciate you being a little flexible with the whole
good morning.
Yeah. So when Byron Keelin was in a couple hours ago, I asked him, I said, well, how was the turnout on that? And he said it was actually pretty good. The room was pretty full. I'm not going to lie. That surprised me a little bit, pleasantly surprised me, but it surprised me a little bit just because there's so much mis and disinformation out there. And so the fact that there was a turnout, are there still people who are saying, I'm not sure. I want to know more. This wasn't just preaching to the crowd then.
Right. No,
to the choir. Yeah.
Honestly, I was a little surprised too because there's a whole lot of voter fatigue going on right now. We all know it. We're all feeling it. But it was a good turnout, and it was a mix of people. There were people who were there because they wanted to hear from Americans for Tax Reform's Grover Norquist, and some of those folks. And so, but there were also people there who wanted to hear the information and were still unsure about it. And we honestly still see this too because we're shifting somewhat to try to reach more people. We're still doing the teletown hall. So there's a teletown hall tonight, tomorrow night, next Monday night, right? All the way through the end. And is to give people a chance to ask those questions. And we still get people that are asking the questions on those teletown halls too. And we always give them an email too. And it surprises me. People actually take the time to write down the email address, and I get those emails. Yeah. So, I mean, like they're still out there trying to make sure they've got, because it's confusing, and I get that.
Well, it's a very complicated thing.
That's right.
And we're talking about putting something in the state constitution in order to make sure that tax policy is done outside of the Constitution in state law,
right?
Which is, you get very wonky and in the weeds. That's the way that it's supposed to be. But because you're saying, okay, well, what's the plan you're putting in the Constitution? Well, the whole point is that the legislature is going to be able to write this, but it's really sometimes hard to go, well, wait a minute, if we pass this, then what's the tax going to be?
Right. And I think that's the frustration on the part of a lot of people, is because, you know, of the way we're having to do it, it makes it seem like the whole plan should be right there, right? Mm-hmm. It's totally understandable to want to know all of the details. I get that. And it's gonna be a mess because everybody's gonna want to protect their carve out. But the entire, and this is something that I've learned as we've gone along, that every time I see it, the more frustrating it is and the more infuriating it is. And one of the big reasons why they're having to do it this way is because we froze the sales tax code in time in the Constitution, and it was literally special interests doing that. And they made it sound like it's for the people, but what it did is it really narrowed our sales tax burden on lower income people. And that is so frustrating to me because the legislature has no ability to spread that burden out and take it off of those people.
Okay, I want to follow up right there because that's what we're hearing right now is, well, Amendment 5 is going to soak the poor people and it's a big gift to the rich people. And you're saying, no, that's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
Yeah. Explain that.
For sure. Well, right now, because it's in the Constitution, right, the sales tax code is in there. It has over 200 loopholes in it. It's on the goods that lower income people, that's the vast majority of their spending, right? And so there's no expansion, there's no ability to do anything that's new in the last, 10 years. So AI services, pro-abortion ads, like you name it, like there's a lot of things, luxury services that are just not in there. And so we could, this is really the bottom line, is about doing taxes fairly. Because I know that people say, now the rich aren't having to pay their income tax. Well, guess who's able to take advantage of a lot of loopholes for income tax? Is people with a lot more money than me. Like, right. I don't have all those loopholes, and so I pay income tax, every year. So it really is backwards.
Well, and the income tax, by the way, we pay the full income tax, full rate income tax in Missouri once you get past, what, $9,000?
Right.
I mean, literally after $9,000, everybody, poor or rich, pays the exact same amount. Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize that. They think, well, if you're lower income, it's like the federal government. If you're low income, you're not going to pay a federal. No. $9,000.
Yep.
That's where you get hit with the full income tax rate in Missouri.
That's right.
Okay, so that is one issue on there, but Amendment 4 is a separate issue.
Yes.
I think one of the most frustrating things for me, Camellia, we're visiting with Camellia Peterson from Americans for Prosperity, and while it's frustrating, I get why the other side's doing it.
Sure.
They want to lump 4 and 5 together. Well, if you don't like this one, then you can't like this one either. Listen, you make up your own mind on Amendment 5. I'm going to be really candid. I think Amendment 5 is, I think it's really dicey. I think it's an uphill climb right now.
Yeah,
is my guess.
Sure. And so AFP is working on Amendment 4 as well.
Right.
So we're knocking doors on both 4 and 5. And, Amendment 4 is critical for the future of the state. Yes. I cannot emphasize that enough. And people are like, well, you're taking away the ability of the people to put things on the ballot.
No, you're not.
Well, you're not. And here's the thing. When I tell people to look at, the things that have gone on the ballot in the last, 50 years or more, how many of those things in quote unquote citizen-led initiatives, those are not citizen-led. Like, I can't think of a single one.
Yeah, was the gambling legalization amendment citizen-led?
Right.
Did somebody sit around at a coffee shop and go, you know what we've got to do? We really need to have sports betting in this state. Let's start a petition. You know what, Gertrude, Petunia, get your papers out. We've got quills. Let's do this.
That's right. No, I mean, there has not been a conservative citizen-led initiative petition on the ballot since the 1980s with the Hancock Amendment. And so it is, and, we know who was in control then. So this is really, I think it's really important. This is why Missouri, who we're supposed to be a supermajority red state, right? But we have $15 minimum wage. We have Medicaid expansion that ballooned our budget. There are so many liberal things that we've done that are bad for Missouri that has been done through this process.
Okay, so the argument being, oh, well, I guess you're afraid of the voters. You don't want the voters you're taking away majority rule. And it's a vapid statement, but it emotionally connects with people.
Right.
And that's one of the things that Amendment 4, that's the funny thing is when I hear people say it takes away majority rule. No, it enhances it. Honestly, I think we should have asked for more of a higher bar.
Yeah.
But this to me is the bare minimum compromise, and it just makes sense. I mean, because right now 50% plus one for a constitutional amendment, and so now it just has to be 50% plus one in each region of the state.
This gives those rural areas a voice, right? I mean, because it's a protection against the tyranny of the majority. And that's a very real thing, right? It's why we do representative republic instead of pure democracy. And like people talk about that a lot right now, right? Because we're a democracy. Well,
no,
not
we're not.
really.
We're a republic. We use a democratic process, but we are a republic. And there's a reason that historically republics outlast democracies. Right. Now, the democratic process is obviously a beautiful thing, but doing it within that check and balance system is how we flourish.
Yeah, that balance is what protects the individual and it's what protects the minorities.
Yeah, and in this case right here, and there are people I think who just either have so many questions or they're buying into the fear mongering and they've got their own opinion on 5. I really, and I think you're right. I think 4 is so critical that if we leave everybody with one thing, it's 4 and 5 are 2 completely separate things.
Yes.
And 4 is a constitutional, as in the spirit and in the tradition of the U.S. Constitution, and in the conservative look at the role of government. Amendment 4 is absolutely crucial, because what happens right now is you can come in, look what happened with the sports betting books, look what happened with the marijuana industry, look at what's happened with unions. And
the marijuana industry doesn't like what went into the Constitution now because they can't operate because they put all of this stuff into the Constitution.
I don't know what they were smoking when they wrote that constitutional amendment. But and then of course what really it was designed to do was keep their competition out and keep the legislature from adjusting to, that's not working.
Yep.
And that's why these things need to be in laws and not constitutions, but that's getting into the weeds. It's getting all wonky. Right. And the reality is that not everything should be in the Constitution, and the majority rule argument has an emotional impact. But I'm asking people to think a little bit deeper and say, wait a minute, the state constitution should be a consensus, not just we won on this one particular date.
Right. Yeah, no, the U.S. Constitution, you could fit in a little tiny book in your front pocket, right? The Missouri Constitution, Tim Jones last night said you basically need a wagon to carry it around now, and that's not too far off from wrong.
Okay, so tell me about the teletown hall that's going on tonight. And is this 4 and 5 or just one or the other?
This is just 5.
Yeah.
So there's probably the most confusion around 5 as far as questions. So Monday evening, we had Senator Eric Schmidt and other guests like Darren Chappell and also Grover Norquist. And then this evening, we have Congressman Bob Onder and Dr. Aaron Hedlund, who's on the White House Council of Economic Advisors, and Representative Bishop Davidson. Tomorrow evening, we will have Catherine Hanaway. The Attorney General will be our headliner, and then the governor will wrap things up on Monday.
Okay, and you can find out about all of that.
All of those things on afpmissouri.com, including the replays from previous ones. We're trying to make it as easy as possible to get all the information that you need.
Yep. All right, Camellia, great chat with you again. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, 314-912-1019. I mean, we got a lot of ground that we still need to cover, but I want to go back to what's happening with Anthony Fauci. Essentially, he's getting exposed. He can't open his mouth. Otherwise, he exposes himself to more possible liability from a legal perspective. This is kind of big. The fact that he's not answering questions is actually kind of big. So we'll touch on that right around 8:30, right around 8:34 here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking temperatures back towards the upper 80s today. Going to be looking at sunnier skies across much of the area. Could see some upper-level wildfire smoke. Not going to be an issue near the surface. As we look off into Thursday, temperatures back towards the upper 80s. Once again, mostly sunny skies. Big changeover is going to be Friday morning. Scattered showers and storms that'll be staying with us off and on as we head off into Saturday as well. And things are looking to dry up this week and temperatures back towards the lower 80s. For the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
Fox News commentary with Kennedy next.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Here's Kennedy.
Dr. Fauci didn't care. He did not consider the mental health implications, the long-term ramifications, which were much more devastating than what kids were coming across in schools. And the fact that he would sit there like a bald-faced liar and, say that he was merely a peripheral participant in all of this, and he was not the person at the center of a dictating policy. He was, and we know that from his diary now, because he talked about how he was the most interesting and famous person in the world, the most sought-after person, so famous, and that's what he wanted to be. He didn't really care about, whether or not healthy people would die, if sick COVID patients were forced into their nursing homes, or if kids would have these mental health journeys that were insurmountable for years to come. He didn't care. He cared about being famous.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Can you believe politicians nearly doubled state spending since 2019? Yeah, that's twice the rate of inflation.
What do we get for all that extra spending? Nothing.
Yeah, and get this, over 200 loopholes are buried in our tax code, written by lobbyists for wealthy corporations.
Our tax code is rigged against us.
We get taxed on our paycheck, our home, everything we buy.
I guess somebody's got to pay for all that spending.
That's why we need Amendment 5. It puts politicians on a leash.
Forces them to cut taxes and control spending, whether they like it or not.
Amendment 5 closes the loopholes, eliminates income taxes, cuts property taxes, and gives $3,000 a year to average working families.
We decide, not the politicians.
Amendment 5 is the biggest tax cut in Missouri history.
I'm voting yes on Amendment 5. Paid for by Missouri Promise PAC, Mark Ellinger, Treasurer.
If you love your pet, which I know you do, then they deserve the excellent treatment and care they'll receive at Pacific Animal Hospital in Pacific, Missouri, a full-service veterinarian facility. Originally built and grown by my dad, Dr. Bill Jones, a new generation of wonderful veterinarians and staff at Pacific continue to provide outstanding medical, surgical, dental, boarding, and grooming services for your favorite furry friends. Our family entrusts the care of our pets only to the experienced docs and staff at Pacific Animal Hospital. You should too. Call them today, 636-257-2100, 24/7 at PacificVets.com, PacificVets.com.
Your trees do a lot for you. Shade, beauty, curb appeal, but are they safe? Clever Tree Service has been protecting St. Louis homes and landscapes for over 20 years. Pruning, trimming, removal, stump grinding, even 24/7 emergency storm service. Fully insured, eco-friendly, and always focused on you. From Kirkwood to Chesterfield, Webster Groves to Wildwood, your neighbors trust Clever Tree Service. Visit clevertreeservice.com for your free quote today.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, Chris Arps from the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Make sure that you're listening to our show this afternoon from 4 to 6. Now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
Okay, we're seeing a pattern in this questioning of Anthony Fauci, which is turning out to not be so much a questioning of Anthony Fauci. He's just taken his lumps. He doesn't like it, but if you're just joining us, the Senate Homeland Security Committee is investigating, and they're questioning Anthony Fauci regarding basically the lies that he's been caught saying, the mistakes that were made in addition to the lies. And he has invoked the Fifth Amendment and is refusing to answer any questions because he is invoking the Fifth Amendment. So what's happening now is that the Democrats on the committee are not even rushing to defend Anthony Fauci for the most part. They are going after, at the moment, RFK Jr. And believe me, I'm not a big RFK Jr. fan. I've got plenty of differences, but they don't want to talk. They want to talk about anybody and everybody except Anthony Fauci and his statements and his decisions and his actions and the record of receipts that's been exposed. Republicans want to go after Fauci and all of those things. Democrats are saying, but look at how Rand Paul is doing this. But look at what RFK Jr. did. But Trump.
Yeah.
And they are looking at deflecting. They don't want this conversation to be about the subject of the actual conversation.
Yeah, I was previewing it during the break. For those that are not familiar with technology, I can listen to multiple things at one time through my headphones. And there was Senator Hassan, I think her name was.
Yes.
Old
out of where's she? Out of New Hampshire, I think.
Yeah, but she looks like exactly the type of people I've been complaining about in politics for this entire time. And she got too close to saying something factually true when she was talking about RFK. She was talking about vaccine hesitancy and the COVID vaccine and why people are not as willing to get these vaccinations now. And she came so close to, I think she almost slipped up and tried to tie it to the way that the vaccine was handled under Fauci, because there have been questions. Some of these have actually been verified now, but we all know we can't sue Pfizer. No, they had like what, a 50 some odd year immunity from to even hide the information for the studies being done.
And that was actually, to be fair, that was done under the Trump administration.
Yeah. But the point is that the moment she caught herself realizing, oh yeah, this could be, some of this is probably coming from the way that we handled the COVID vaccine, then it gets switched to, and it's all because of RFK, and it's disgusting. You have Republicans, and this is, I don't like to do the whole partisan thing a lot, but you have Republicans asking direct questions of the timeline of things. Here is what we know. Here is what was said. Here are the quotes from you. Right. Here is everything that we know. Can you at least answer a question, plead the Fifth? And then these people are getting all riled up. But what about things unrelated to what you're hearing about? Right. And it's disgusting.
This is about getting clips for social media marketing. This is about the midterm elections. Rand Paul, love him or hate him, he's very consistent. Rand Paul went right after Fauci's actions, statements, decisions, and the effects of all of those things. He was laser focused on that, and Fauci simply invoked the Fifth Amendment to every single question, reading the exact same statement to every question. So that was damning, at least in the optics of it. As well. And Fauci's demeanor, it just seemed to me that with every passing question that he said, under the advice of counsel, I will invoke my Fifth Amendment right, under the Constitution, every time he did it, you saw just a little more flow out of him. He knows how this looks. And as Stacey Matthews said, Sister Troll just said from RedState a little bit ago, this is one of the worst things you could do to him is deflate that massive, self-important, pseudo-godlike ego that this man has come up with, because so many people rushed to look at him as somebody we should follow, and millions of Americans did, and millions of Americans suffered because they chose to follow that charlatan.
There is not a single person in any civilized part of the world that is not affected by Anthony Fauci and his decisions and his godhood among the medicine, the science.
Yeah.
And as anybody that's ever had to deal with for prolonged periods of time, any actual narcissist, an actual self-righteous egomaniac narcissist, the way he was saying, I'm going to plead the Fifth, it wasn't like anger malice, but it was at how dare you ask me that?
Right.
How dare you? Yeah, how dare you? Do you not know that I am Dr. Fauci? I am the science.
I am above this. You are beneath me. I should not have to deal with you people. That's
you're
the
wasting
vibe.
my time with all of this. Yes.
And he, that's all he's going to do for as long as this goes on is I plead the Fifth Amendment. He's not going to answer questions from anybody.
No.
So this is what you would expect from the hearing. I think we kind of had a hope that he would do intellectual combat with Rand Paul and the committee. And listen, he's a smart guy. I think he's evil to his core.
Yes.
But he's a smart guy, and I think we would have had a lot to take in with that. But, he's got a blanket pardon from the Biden administration. And as he's taking the Fifth Amendment, he is not putting himself in a position to say anything that could get him sued or prosecuted again. That's just where it is. So he's just counting down the hours until this is done so that he can go get lunch and realize that he was given a free pass despite all of the destruction he was responsible for, not only in this country, but around the world, but primarily this country. That's what I care about.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if there was a soul inside of that body, it is not visible with looking at him and how he is listening right now to what's being said. If there was any moral conscience in his brain, any part of him that said, maybe I should at least do something right with my life and not just be a sociopath, it is not clear.
I just need to do something that will just like step back and make me feel better. I need a Mario's doing it. I'm just saying.
I need to learn some yoga, I guess.
I need to feel better. Do yoga while having a Mario's donut. That's what you should do.
Well, you're getting your fourth booster, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean they've covered obviously the gain of function aspect of this. They've also they just went into a little bit ago when we were in the information segment the misleading aspects of the side effects of the experimental vaccine. So they did cover a lot of that. That just happened to be when we were not on the air. So all of these hearings are on video delay. You can start watching them from the beginning right now. And if things get real spicy, we'll go back to it. But at this point, we're looking at a lot of questioning and Anthony Fauci just in a very dismissive, condescending way, doing the Fifth Amendment, but in a little bit of a defeated way too, I think.
Yeah, and Larry Connors, the great Larry Connors, actually stopped by on a Rumble chat for a little bit ago. So I know he's probably got his eye on this right now. So if you miss anything now or you want a good summation of what's going on, tune in from 6 to 8 o'clock at the Larry Connors USA program.
And if you're anywhere near Mugi Road, you need to run by Mario's. I'm telling you, it'll make you feel better. It really will. I'm just saying.
I'm going to the gun range later. that is my safe space.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Hey, we've got Flashback Friday coming up.
Yes,
so here's the deal. Jerome's taking a couple days off.
I deserve it.
You do. Going to go hang out with some friends and enjoy some time off. So get your request in today, if you would be so kind, so that we can set up and have that ready for Flashback Friday, because we're still doing the Flashback Friday.
Yes.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You are a bully?
On NewsTalk STL.
Another round of rain happened over the weekend, of course, and that means we've got standing water. There's some right outside my back door. And you know what that means? For most people, that means it's just a matter of days before those mosquitoes kind of ramp back up. And depending on where you go, it drives me nuts. Some of the ball fields I play on, you just know you're going to deal with mosquitoes. You just hate it, but you don't have to at your home. Mike Ferguson here for my friends at the Mosquito SWAT Team, mosquitoswatteam.com. Check out that website. They actually have solutions that, by the way, don't harm any of the good insects like pollinators, like bees or anything like that, but they can make your home a safe haven from those mosquitoes, which serve no purpose of anything. So Mosquito SWAT Team, check them out. The phone number is right there on the website. Find out what they can do for you. They don't walk in and say, here's the chemical we use and spray it around everywhere. No, they have a custom solution based on what you need, based on the environment, based on the landscaping that you have. Everybody they have is a certified technician and they know what they're doing. Find out what they can do for you, because this is the season when we have some of those ugly things that go along with mosquito bites. We actually saw some in DeSoto that was confirmed the other day. The Mosquito SWAT Team, mosquitoswatteam.com. Find out what they can do for you and say, hey, Mike was telling me about you on the radio.
Travis Wilson here, State Representative of District 106 in St. Charles, Missouri's first state capital. As a 31-year resident of St. Charles County, I know the issues that are important to our residents, such as protecting women's sports, stopping harmful procedures on minors, and fighting the woke agenda. As your representative, I know what it takes to bring new opportunities to our community to ensure our children have a brighter future. It's been the honor of a lifetime for my family and me to represent you, and I humbly ask for your vote again on August 4th.
Paid for by Wilson for St. Charles. Merle Schneider, Treasurer.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Capistrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too. On Manchester at McKnight and Rock Hill, and now in Creve Coeur on Olive, just 1 mile west of 270.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serving St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
Whatever the season, you always have a great reason to reach out to Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com for all your tree care needs and so much more. Tim Jones here to remind you, Hanson's is your one-stop shop for expert insured tree care, amazing organic mulch, green resource recycling, land clearing, and so much more. Hanson services the entire St. Louis metro, and they also provide their full array of services in and around the Lake of the Ozarks. From tree care to storm cleanup to awesome mulch and more, check out Hanson's at hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning, people.
All right, we're keeping our eye on these Fauci hearings that are happening right now. Senator Langford out of Oklahoma literally just asked the question of Fauci, okay, what can we learn so in future health threats could we do better? I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's fair. That's a fair paraphrase of what he said, right?
That's basically what he was asking, yes.
What could we do better? What have we learned? And Fauci's answer was, under the advice of counsel, I refuse to answer based on my invocation of the Fifth Amendment, and he read his statement. So even that, he's not taking any chances to say, this could be better. Nothing on this.
That's how, I'm going to say some words.
No. You want to be able to come back after your days off.
Yes,
That's the thing. All right, let's see here. A few things going on around here. An iconic St. Louis-based brand leaving St. Louis. And a governor says Mitch McConnell should prove he can still serve or step down. It is 8:50. I think we can sneeze in one more news dump here, can't we?
The Morning News Dump, brought to you by Lee May Concrete and Block.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out. They got all the news. The Morning News Dump.
This just in, Mike really wants a Mario's donut. Okay, anyway. All right. A national brand born in St. Louis is leaving the loop. This is kind of a gut punch for a lot of people.
Oh, man.
This is one of those brands that, St. Louis people are still very protective of. We're still protective. It's ours. Okay, formerly known as St. Louis Bread Company, Panera confirms that it's moving its corporate headquarters to the Boston area next year. Some support operations are going to remain here in the area, but hundreds of corporate jobs are expected to be affected. The first Bread Co. opened in Kirkwood in 1987. The chain was purchased in 1993. It grew from 87 to 93. They grew to 20-something locations around the St. Louis area and immediately got purchased. So the entrepreneurs, the St. Louis entrepreneurs who built it, had a true success story. And then, of course, it's been acquired and sold and stuff like that. It's now owned by the parent company that also owns Einstein Brothers Bagels and Caribou Coffee. They're not shutting down the Bread Co's around here, but the few St. Louis Bread Co's that you do have, because most of them have rebranded Panera here, it's just all going to be Panera. So this is a little piece of St. Louis that's just kind of fading away, but the food's still around. They're not getting rid of the stores. They're not getting rid of the restaurants.
Oh, okay. So not closing down and just yanking them out.
No,
It's just the headquarters.
The headquarters is moving, but there's a lot of people. There's some pretty high-paying jobs, too. Okay, Senator Lindsey Graham will be laid to rest today in South Carolina. His funeral service was yesterday at the National Cathedral in Washington. Those in attendance sang a hymn, and then President Trump was among the speakers, saying that Senator Graham fought for a stronger America.
He had unwavering faith in the righteousness of American power and prayer. He was extremely hawkish. I will tell you, he never saw a war that he didn't like. Only his true friends would understand that, but he wanted it for the good of our country.
Yeah, we understand it too. You didn't have to be a close friend on that. Lindsey Graham was 71 years old when he died earlier this month of an aortic dissection. He was a senator for 23 years, with his latest term actually ending in 2027, so he was about to be reelected, most likely, from South Carolina. His sister, Darlene Graham Nordone, was chosen by South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster to fill that role. She will be running for the next term in this coming November's elections. Okay, we've had a lot of talk about the socialist and the fringe on the left, and they're certainly having their moment of popularity and influence. I mean, you could say it goes back to, kind of when the squad became the cause du jour for so many people. But it is outright socialism that is driving the left and driving the Democratic Party. Senator Ted Cruz was asked about this on Hannity last night, especially responding to this platform that the Democratic Socialists of America are saying about, we're going to get rid of the U.S. Senate, we're going to get rid of the Supreme Court, we're going to make everybody subservient to Congress, the more popularly elected. Here's what Senator Cruz had to say.
You make the Supreme Court subservient to the Politburo, you know what goes away? Your constitutional rights.
No.
Free speech, religious liberty, the Second Amendment, all out the window.
And, of course, there are more and more Democrats, not just John Fetterman, who are now sort of standing up and going, hey, I got a problem with this, too. Democrats are left of center, but there are many saying, but we shouldn't be fringe socialist authoritarian, which is what socialism is. And so you are seeing more and more Democrats step up and go, that ain't us. But at least on the West and East Coast, that's them.
The DSA, a lot of the members are very vocal and unashamed to say that they would like to revise or at least eliminate parts of the Constitution. You cannot coexist with people that want actively to take away your rights.
Could somebody who is dedicated to the Democratic Socialists of America platform, which is very anti-constitutional, and I think they would even tell you that, could they in good faith take an oath of office that swears to uphold and defend the Constitution?
It's not about good faith by any means necessary as their mindset.
Yep. Okay, this is interesting. I don't know why this jumped out at me. I found it on CNN. The minivan is making a comeback, and it's because of people of Jerome's age group.
You're welcome, everybody.
I know. I'm telling you. According to industry research cited by CNN, minivan sales went up 21% in 2025. Because you remember when minivans suddenly were like the most uncool thing, the mom jeans of automobiles?
I haven't seen them in quite a while now that I think about it.
But now they're coming back. Over 400,000 minivans were sold last year alone, up 21%. And a key driving force behind that surge, millennials.
Yes.
See, millennials now are in their 30s and early 40s. And guess what people in their 30s and early 40s have around? Chillins.
Yeah.
They have kids.
We're getting old.
Now they're figuring out that, these minivans are pretty practical.
They're a lot of fun.
That sliding door is really handy. And, man, this is a lot less expensive than an SUV. So the most popular minivan in the U.S. last year, in case you were wondering, was the Toyota Sienna. So there you go. Millennials making minivans sexy again, baby.
We're bringing back bell bottoms next.
Don't do that. Oh, my goodness. All right, Cardinals are now below 500 on the season. That is after last night's embarrassing 10-2 loss to the Cubs at Busch Stadium. Third game of that 4-game series is tonight. That starts at 6:45. Dustin May going to be on the bump for the Cardinals. Cardinals are now 14 games back in the Central Division. They've lost 8 of their last 10 games. They are only 1.5 games out of last place in the division. And remember, they were in second place 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, and they are free falling like a rock right now.
The bigger you are, the harder you fall.
Oh, so the trade deadline's coming up. I would not be surprised if there are some moves that are happening. Should I make a prediction now?
Go for it.
McGreevy, I don't think will be a Cardinal by the end of the season. Maybe wrong, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there.